Chapter 1103. Zhang Yuan, who knew that he had made a mistake, tried his best to correct it. He ordered people to collect branches and grass. Some were from previous years, some were moist grass and branches that were still budding this year. There were even some that had been simply fermented under the roots. After observing the direction of the wind, he found a place where the wind was blowing and piled them up into a pile. Then he dug out a path to ignite the fire and took the matches to call the 9 little ancestors who were still fishing by the water. "Ah, you're starting to make a game? Okay, I'm coming." Xiao Bei patted the fish scales hanging on his body a few times and dried his hands on Xiao Yuan's back. He took the match and jumped to the end of the path to ignite the fire. He looked up at the waterfall and laughed. He struck the match and ignited the thing under his feet. Seeing the fire spread to the pile of grass, he turned to Xiao Yuan and asked, "How long do you think it will take for them to react?" "What reaction?" Xiao Yuan also lit the fire. "Just shout, 'It's suffocating me.' Don't release the smoke, I'll come out by myself." Xiao Bei shouted loudly. "It depends on whether the smoke can get in and how much." Xiao Yuan couldn't figure it out. He looked forward to the smoke rising and floating upwards. Xiao Hai was also counting. After he finished counting, he didn't participate in the discussion. He turned around and went to his brother and sister who were still playing chess. He watched them play a few moves and realized that he couldn't help anyone with his calculation ability. He then whispered to his sister, "Sister, can't we hit it with a bullet directly?" Wang Wan stopped playing. "It depends on the bullet's speed and penetration, as well as the thickness and flow rate of the waterfall hit by the bullet. It's like using a gun to hit water. It can't go in too deep and lose its strength. It can only rely on its own weight to fall down. Can you calculate it?" Xiao Hai was concerned about this problem. Wang Wan nodded. "In theory, yes, but it's not an accurate calculation. It's a calculation of a range. It's impossible to remove the obstruction and flow rate of the water. The only thing we can do is to minimize the impact as much as possible. For example, if you use a wooden board to block in front of you and I swing a big iron rod to hit you, I won't consider the obstruction of your wooden board because the force of the iron rod far exceeds the resistance of your wooden board. Can I learn it?" Little Hai was particularly concerned about this matter. "No, because I can't teach you. I don't know how to do it. There's too much knowledge involved. Not only gravity, but also the obstacles in the environment during the bullet's flight, which are mesons, angles, and artificial intelligence. The calculation of the bullet's trajectory can be adjusted automatically. It's not that simple. You still have a long way to go before that day. In the future, it will depend on how hard you work. Your brother and I can only provide you with some theoretical knowledge, but we can't do anything practical." Wang Wan had used this type of weapon before. It was a bullet. With her technology, at that time, the bullet was already equipped with intelligent guidance, but not all countries could master it. Little C was stunned for a moment. In his heart, he had always thought that there was nothing that his big brother and big sister couldn't do. But today, when he heard his big sister say that she couldn't calculate, he was depressed. Zhang Xiaobao touched his brother's head and said, "There is never an end to the things in the world. It requires the efforts of many people. All we can do is to keep exploring. However, the more we know, the more we will discover our own ignorance. The higher we fly, the more we will know the depths of the sky. I'm not talking about the atmosphere. In fact, when we fly up, we are also flying down. What makes people afraid is not the starry sky, but the heart. After time and time again, people will find that they have actually taken the wrong path. That kind of mental pain is the most uncomfortable. But we still have to go on, even if it is wrong. Maybe when we just proved a mistake, we also proved that it was right at the same time. Learn, mathematics can be applied to any field." Little Hai didn't fully understand his brother's words. He only knew that his knowledge was still too shallow. There was a very long way to go in the future. Only by persevering could he go further. "Brother, I know. I will take out more time to study in the future," Little Hai said. "Wrong. In the future, you have to take out more time to play. Learning is endless. There is a limit to my life, and there is no limit to my knowledge. There is a limit to my knowledge. If you are interested in learning, then learn. But learning is not the goal. How can you make yourself happy? Now, there are people who are making me unhappy, so I can't let them be comfortable. When Zhang Xiaobao heard that his brother wanted to spend a lot of time studying mathematics, he hurriedly persuaded him. He didn't want his brother to become a fool who only knew how to calculate. It might be very important to mankind. The day he really became famous, he would write a thick stroke in the history of later generations. But this was not what he wanted. He only wanted his younger siblings to live happily every day. The burden of contributing to mankind was too heavy, and it was not suitable for his younger siblings to carry. Little Hai was confused again. The ones who wanted him to learn were his brother and sister, but the one who didn't want him to learn was his brother. Should he learn or not? Unable to understand, he left the chessboard and returned to the place where the fire was. Looking at the billowing smoke, he guessed how long the people inside could hold on. Using smoke to smoke the cave behind the waterfall was not very effective. Most of the smoke was blown away, and some of the smoke was scattered by the waterfall. Less than 1% of the smoke could enter the cave. Even so, the people did not give up. They still added leaves and grass to the fire regardless of their tiredness. It was already dark. In addition to the fire specially used to smoke people, the people also lit a pile of bonfires. They set up pots to cook or directly roasted fish and wild animals. Xiao Bei, who had changed her clothes, held a cup of juice in her hand and ran around excitedly. She scooped a spoonful of food from the pot to eat and ran to another barbecue place to cut a piece of meat. From the beginning to now, she had not been idle. She could not be idle. But the 7 people in the cave could not be idle either. No matter how small the proportion of smoke entering the cave was, it could not withstand the large number. There were many bonfires, and with a slight change in the wind direction, the waterfall, which was almost completely covered by the smoke, could not protect the people in the cave. Before the people below started cooking, the people in the cave were awakened by the smoke. This time, it was not only the sect leader who coughed, but the other 6 people also coughed with him. The 7 people had moved to the innermost part of the cave, where there were vents leading to other places. There were a total of 3 vents. The 7 people took turns to breathe through the vents. They also cleverly wet their clothes to cover their faces. When one person breathed twice in front of the vents, he would hold his breath and give up his position. The second person would go over to breathe, and this rotation made them feel much better. But the 7 people were very clear that they could not continue like this, otherwise they would not be able to eat. Moreover, the smoke outside seemed to become thicker as the night came. Sect leader, this is not good. We have to think of a way. Have we been discovered? The person who went down to observe the fireworks first used the air in his lungs to speak when his mouth came into contact with the vents. Then he took 2 deep breaths and could not help but cough. The vents did not always let in the wind from the outside. No matter what, the smoke in the cave was still a little hot, and it also increased the density of the air in the cave. Although it was only a little increase, the air circulation was formed because of this little change. Therefore, the smoke in the cave also drifted out of the vents. Even if one used their hands and wet clothes to block it, it could not be completely blocked. When one breathed through the vents, they would naturally inhale. It was the same for all 3 vents. This sect leader took up one of the vents alone, and the other 2 were used by the 6 people in turn. He was already coughing and short of breath, so it was impossible for him to switch with the others. When he heard the words of the people beside him, he wanted to speak, but first coughed. After coughing for a while, he breathed twice in front of the vents and finally spoke. Go and see if they set the mountain on fire, or if they know that we are behind and come back after a look. Go quickly. Ah, I go? Okay. This person was shocked. After hesitating for a while, he gritted his teeth and agreed. After a few more breaths, he took a deep breath and held it. Using his wet clothes to cover his mouth and nose, he narrowed his eyes and ran towards the cave entrance. When he reached the cave entrance, he found that there was only thick smoke in front of him. He could not see the situation outside at all. As for the water, he could only feel the water splashing on his face. He could not see the shadow of the waterfall. The water did not emit light, and it was usually very dark at night. He wanted to go down like last time, but he knew that it was absolutely impossible. No matter how good his throwing skills were, he would not be able to hit a nail at night. Even if he was lucky and went down before he was smothered to death, would he be able to come back at night? Just when he did not know what to do, a gust of wind blew the smoke outside away. At this time, he finally saw the situation outside. The vague and hazy light shone in from the waterfall, and the water of the waterfall was also blown away by the wind. The swaying fire on the ground outside left a shadow in his eyes for a moment. At this time, the wind passed and the smoke gathered again. He endured the shock in his heart and ran back as fast as he could. He wiped his eyes with his wet clothes and snatched the vents. After taking 2 more breaths, he gave the vents to others and went to the side of the sect master. It is all fire below. There are many people. It seems that they are eating there. The smoke is blowing here. Smoke? Silly. How can smoke make us like this? They deliberately let the smoke out. It's over. I didn't expect that they would find us hiding in the cave. The big thing is over. You are good. Jump down later and bring back what we know in the Tang Empire. The sect master, Wei Wei, moved aside so that the other person could breathe the air of the vent. He did not care whether he coughed or not and gave the order. Sect master, don't give up. If they are suspicious, maybe they will use smoke all the places with waterfalls to test us. If we persist, we will be able to avoid them. The person advised. He did not want to jump down now. Although he was not afraid of being found by the people below, the sound of him jumping was not as loud as the sound of the waterfall. But if he jumped down from here, it would be very difficult to swim to a safe place alive. If he was not careful, he would be hit by the water of the waterfall into the whirlpool. The sect master thought for a moment and nodded. Then let's wait and see. So the 7 people continued to struggle to deal with the smoke. With the vents, they felt very uncomfortable. They would not die from the smoke, but every time they breathed, they would inhale a part of the smoke, followed by coughing. Then they had to continue to gasp for breath, which was more painful than directly killing them. Why haven't they come out to surrender? Did the people we caught earlier lie, or did they already leave the cave, or did they die from a smoke? Xiao Bei ate a lot of food. He ate 1 or 2 mouthfuls in front of the bonfire, but couldn't resist eating too many times. When he was full, he no longer jumped around and ran. Instead, he went up the mountain to check the pills. He ate them bit by bit like snacks, rubbing his stomach with one hand and stuffing them into his mouth with the other. His legs slowly moved as if he was taking a stroll. A lot of mosquitoes flew over, and when they landed on the fire, they were burned to death, making crackling sounds. Looking at the stars in the sky, Xiao Bei began to feel annoyed. He said to his brother and sister, who were still eating slowly. Zhang Xiaobao was roasting fish and eating it piece by piece. When he heard his sister's words, he was also surprised. He guessed, could it be that he fainted from a smoke? Is there any news from the people who are searching everywhere with torches, saying that they have found smoke coming from somewhere? I'll go ask. Xiao Bei rubbed her stomach and went to ask. After a while, she returned and said, "Not yet. Let's wait for a while. It's not convenient to search at night. If I had known about the smoke in the morning, it would have been fine in the afternoon. Let's stop for a while first. If he fainted and everyone died from the smoke, I can only hope to catch people as evidence." Zhang Xiaobao ordered. The piles of fires used to smoke people were extinguished. The wind blew for a while, and the whole world seemed to cool down. Zhang Xiaobao said to his sister, "See if the water is cold. If you can take it, go down and swim for a while. The food in your stomach should be more or less digested. In the future, control your eating. You always eat until you're full, but you're not fat. If other children ate like you, they would have become fat girls long ago. It's not cold, it's not cold. I'm going to swim with them." Xiao Bei thought it was time to sleep and was thinking of an excuse to delay it. There were many people, and it was lively. It was not easy to have a chance to play, so it would be a pity to sleep now. As she spoke, she pulled Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan said unwillingly, "I think it's cold." "I'm not going." "It's not cold. Hurry up and change into your swimsuit. Otherwise, I'll push you down." Xiao Bei helped Xiao Yuan make the decision. The 9 children jumped down one after another. The people on the shore quickly followed and lit up the section of the river they were swimming in with torches. The smoke outside stopped, and the smoke in the cave gradually dissipated. The 7 people felt that it was not so difficult to breathe. They coughed again, as if they were trying to cough out all the smoke they had inhaled. "Sect Master, look. They were just testing and did not confirm that we were behind the waterfall. I almost suffocated to death. Cough, cough." The person who went to check the situation coughed a few more times and said to the sect master with a sigh of relief. After waiting for a while, the smoke in the cave could no longer be felt. The 7 people went to the entrance of the cave and looked out through the waterfall. Sure enough, as the man had said earlier, there were many people outside. The flames were swaying, and there should be a lot of torches and bonfires. Even through the waterfall, it was still bright, as if they were looking at the outside through an irregular piece of thick glass. Eat and sleep. The sect master observed for a while and occasionally saw the situation outside. He waved his hand and ordered. The 7 people did not cook porridge this time. Instead, they casually took some rice and put it in the wind. They ate some salted vegetables and had no clothes to cover themselves. They lay there and endured the discomfort of their bodies, forcing themselves to quickly fall asleep. In the middle of the night, Xiao Bei and the other 9 children also went to sleep in the tent. The others took turns to keep watch. Early the next morning, the 7 people in the cave woke up. The sun had just risen from the horizon, and they really could not sleep. In order to save on food, they did not move much other than sleeping, so that their bodies would not be so tired. Just as they were waiting for the people below to come to another place in the morning, they suddenly found that smoke was pouring into the cave again. Moreover, the smoke this time was even more uncomfortable than the smoke from last night. Cough, 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 what smoke is that? It's so smoky. What's that smell? When one person smelled the smoke, he immediately covered his mouth and nose with wet clothes and ran toward the wind. The other 6 people did the same. After smelling the smoke today, they felt that their nose, mouth, throat, and eyes were burning. Is this how the smoke is made? It's really fun. It looks more solid than last night's smoke. Xiao Hu looked at the bonfire and said happily, "Today's smoke was added. It was mixed with animal feces and the fur and fat of the animals that were hunted for food yesterday. After it was lit, the smoke formed was more solid than yesterday's smoke. It was indeed similar to the smoke from the beacon tower. The smoke looked black with a hint of yellow, and yellow with a hint of white. In any case, it was a mixture of all kinds of colors. With one look, one would know that it would be uncomfortable. After smoking like this for half an hour, someone finally came to report that they found 2 smoking places. It was estimated that they were connected to the cave. Stop first. Zhang Xiaobao ordered with a smile. The smoke was extinguished. Someone brought Zhang Xiaobao and the others up the mountain from another place. Sure enough, there were 2 places where smoke was wafting out. The smell was exactly the same as the things that were burning below. Are there other smoking holes in other places? Zhang Xiaobao stared at the 2 holes and asked. Not yet. Little Gongzi, what do you think we should do next? The person who was asked replied, fill them with water. Tell the people in the cave that they have been discovered. Force them to come out. Zhang Xiaobao said, brother, do we need to fill them with smoke? Xiao Bei pointed at the 2 holes and asked, let's see how they perform first. Zhang Xiaobao turned around and walked down. Just as he returned to the ground, someone came up to him and reported, Little Gongzi, we found a place for people to climb up and down on the rock wall. Should we arrange for people to attack? We can definitely fight our way in. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand. We won't force our way in. What if someone climbs up and throws rocks down from the top? That will cause casualties. I don't want to implicate our people just to catch a few people. It's not easy for Xiao Bei and the others to come here for fun. They might not come back for a few years. Hurry up if you want to catch people in other parts of Mount Lu. When we catch all of them, we'll celebrate when we get back. That's right. We haven't had enough fun yet. Don't attack. There are no hostages inside. My people are precious. Drag it out slowly. Drag it out until they die. If there's no other way, we can use cannons to bombard them. It's just money. I have money. Xiao Bei supported her brother. She knew that it was not easy to run around in the wilderness. Once this was over, they would have to follow the boat. It would be impossible for them to come out and play alone. The 7 people in the cave noticed that there was less smoke. They thought that the other party had finished probing once again. In the end, they saw that 2 of the 3 vents had started to leak water. They could no longer use them for ventilation. The 7 people were shocked when they saw the water. Their first thought was that they had been discovered. Then, they saw the water flowing towards the mouth of the cave. More and more water was coming out. Once again, they confirmed that they had been exposed. Sect leader, what should we do? Block it? One of them asked the sect leader. It's no use. Block 2 vents. Even if they don't find the other one, once they continue to leak water and use smoke outside, there will only be one mouth left. Can we still switch? Later, when the 6 of us surrender, you take the opportunity to jump down. You must send the news back. This is a matter of life and death. The sect leader gave the order to the person with the best skills. Sect leader, why don't I take you with me? If we're lucky, we might be able to escape. Otherwise, if you're captured, won't they use you as an excuse to attack us? The person sorrowfully said. He was keenly aware of the great Tang's reaction once the matter was exposed. To be more precise, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would retaliate, and he began to regret coming here to cause trouble. Relax. No one will admit to it. I'll just say that it was my own idea. I could have just died, but if I really did die and didn't give them an explanation, they'll vent their anger on our country. I alone will take all the blame. The sect leader seemed to age a great deal as he sighed. While the 7 were discussing, shouts came from outside. Some were yelling directly, while others were using loudspeakers, but the voices were fairly uniform. The meaning was that the people inside should surrender. If they resisted, they would be captured and would not have a good ending. This was the method that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had often used. Of course, without a hostage, there was no need for a negotiator, and they didn't care if the people inside would harm themselves. Let's go. Get ready. There are quite a few people here. It's worth it to send so many people to capture me. Hearing that the sounds outside could faintly be heard over the movement of the waterfall, one could imagine how many people were outside. The sect leader helplessly shook his head and looked at the other 6. He wanted them to help him get out. This was what they had done when they came in. 5 of the 6 would be captured together. The remaining one would have to take advantage of the moment when the sect leader's attention was diverted to jump down from the top. Then he would have to see if his luck was good enough to avoid the whirlpool and escape. That way, he would be able to send back all the information he had gathered, especially the gun manufacturing techniques that sect leader Qi had shared with him. Although the firearms could only be used to shoot birds, it was definitely the foundation. Moreover, it was said that the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang clan trained in this way. When the time came, his people could also train. When there was an opportunity in the future, he could obtain other firearms from the great Tang and immediately learn how to use them. Just like the previous person, the 6 of them carefully looped the rope. One of them was responsible for carrying the sect leader and slowly moved out. The place where the rope was missing and they had to climb with their bare hands was very dangerous. Zhang Xiaobao's side also very kindly sent people to hold up a few large nets that were prepared to catch people who accidentally fell down to prevent people from falling to their deaths. The 6 people persevered and seemed to have exhausted all their strength. Finally, they reached the bottom. As soon as their feet touched the ground, they were tied up and carried to Zhang Xiaobao's side. At this moment, the remaining person in the cave took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Then, he took a little more breath and exerted force on his feet. He opened his arms and then closed them over his head. With a leap, he fell down the waterfall. The moment he fell into the water, he felt the world spinning. Relying on his swimming ability, he held his breath and stretched his body as far as possible, allowing the tumbling water to push him out of the whirlpool. Needless to say, his idea was good. He did not enter the whirlpool and was endlessly spinning. Instead, he was washed away by the water and rolled out. After waiting for more than 10 breaths, when he knew that he was alive, he still did not dare to poke his head out of the water. Instead, he stuck to the side of the shore and used his hands and feet to stay underwater. After a while, when his eyes were about to pop out, he finally poked his mouth out of the water and controlled his voice to breathe. He did not even dare to poke his head out to see the sect leader's situation. He was afraid that his gaze would be noticed by others. After a few breaths, he felt much better and continued to swim downstream. This happened a few times. Just when he was secretly happy and thought that he could successfully escape, he suddenly saw a few blurry figures in front of him. In less than 2 breaths, the figures became clear and entered his eyes. It was a few children. Seeing the children's figures, he was first shocked and knew that he had been discovered by the children. Then he was happy. The children who could play here were most likely the younger siblings of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If he could catch one, he might be able to save the sect leader. With a trace of hope, he reached out to the figure in front of him. Just when he thought that he could catch the other person, he suddenly felt the sensation of touching something net-like. Then, his head and body were also caught in the net. Net? The person who sensed that something was wrong was very clear about the consequences of being caught in a net in the water. He hurriedly stretched out his 2 arms, wanting to open the net. He also began to kick with all his strength. At the same time, he did not forget to continue to reach out with his outstretched arms. Through the net, he could still catch the person with his 2 arms. Just when he thought that there was no problem, his stomach was pinched a few times, then his ears. Someone even put their hands under his sleeves and moved with all their strength. His 2 legs were also grabbed by someone. Then he saw the figure of the child that he thought he could easily catch suddenly roll backwards. Like a fish, the child drew an arc in front of his eyes and ran under his body. Then, he only felt that the world was spinning. His body was completely wrapped in the fishing net, and his throat was burning uncomfortably. Water entered his nose and directly caused his head to hurt like it was being pricked by needles. After that, he did not know anything. We caught a big fish. It's very, very big. Haha, we're in the water. This time, we were caught by surprise. You want to catch us? Are you stupid? Humph. After knocking the other person out, Xiao Bei and the other 9 people swam to the shore and shouted to the person who was standing not far away and watching what had happened underwater. This person did not belong to the Zhang family or the Wang family. He was a member of the local military. He was in charge of standing here and watching the situation in the water. At the same time, he was also keeping an eye on Xiao Bei and the other 9 children who were playing in the water. After Xiao Bei and the other 9 people found out that the other party was in the waterfall, they wondered if the other party could escape from the water. If it were them, they would definitely think so. Although their brother and sister had arranged for people to set up layers of nets in a relatively narrow area downstream, they felt that they should still go down and look for the other party in the water. If they could find the other party, wouldn't it be considered their contribution? Therefore, the 9 of them used nets to stop the fish in the water while keeping an eye on the front. They also wore water goggles. Last time, Xiaohai was caught by the other party, so they had learned to be smart. In the end, just as they were happily catching fish, they saw a big shadow coming from the water in front of them. When it got closer, they could see the other party's appearance very clearly through the water goggles. As a result, things became simple. The other party was indeed very skilled. At least, Xiao Bei and the others could not climb the wall next to the waterfall. Furthermore, the other party was also good at swimming. However, he did not have a water goggles, so he did not know how good his opponent was in the water. Once the net covered the other party, even Zhang Xiaobao would not be able to do anything, let alone him. In the water, one's strength could not be used. What was required was the coordination of one's body. Xiao Bei and the other 9 people had tricked the other party just like that. While they were fighting in the water, the person watching from ashore was stunned. He did not know what to do, so he shouted for the others. Then, he saw the 9 children dragging a person out of the water. It was obvious that the other party had fainted and probably drank a lot of water. I'm talking to you. Why are you still watching? Help me. Once out of the water, the person becomes heavy. I can't pull him up. He looks like a fool. Xiao Bei stepped on the water to prevent the water from washing her away. At the same time, she shouted angrily at the person who was watching in a daze. She had done a meritorious deed. She could be considered a person who had done a meritorious deed, but the other party did not listen to her orders. It was too infuriating. The person reacted and pretended not to hear Xiao Bei's scolding. Not to mention that she was a little ancestor that he could not afford to offend. Even if it was an ordinary person, he would have the right to scold her. As he pulled the person up, he cooperated with her and asked, Xiao Bei, how did you catch him? I caught him with a net. He's stupid. When he saw us, he didn't run away. He even rushed towards us and reached out to grab me. He's big and tall, so he's more agile than me in the water. In the end, we caught him with the net. He still wanted to struggle. TSK, he's underestimating us. Xiao Bei said proudly. She climbed ashore and gestured with her hands and feet. When she said that she had dodged the person's movement, she even did a backflip on the ground. She meant that she had dodged the person with this posture. After dragging the person to Zhang Xiaobao, Xiao Bei did not speak, but she still looked like she was waiting to be praised. Little master, the person was caught. It was Xiao Bei and the others. When I found out, I was scared to death. If one of us was caught by the other party, I was scared to death. The local military personnel who dragged the person were still shocked by the 9 children's ability in the water. At the same time, they were very puzzled. Why did Xiao Bao let his younger brothers and sisters take the risk? What if something went wrong? Zhang Xiaobao seemed to know what the other party was going to say. Wei Wei smiled and said, Don't be afraid. If you want to hurt them in the water, even I might not be able to do it. The 9 people's fighting power in the water is much stronger than ordinary adults. Also, Zhang Xiaobao did not finish his words. After all, the other party was not his family. While he was talking, 4 people appeared at the place where Xiao Bei and the others were fighting. The 4 of them were also wearing water glasses. The color of the glasses was similar to the soil on the underwater shore. The same was true for the water suits they were wearing. There was also a tube connected to the 4 people's mouths. The tube was the same color as the soil. Each of them was holding an awl in their hands. After they came up, they took a detour and left. Obviously, they did not want Xiao Bei and the others to see them. These were the people Zhang Xiaobao arranged. A total of 16 people were arranged, and each group of 4 people rotated. He was afraid that his younger brothers and sisters would be hurt again. When they were in the lake, Zhang Xiaobao was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Wang Wan was the same. That was why they personally went to torture them. Their purpose was to vent their anger. From that moment on, the 2 of them paid more attention to their younger brothers' and sisters' safety. They knew that the little ones liked to swim, so they ordered people to prepare in advance. Wherever they went in the water, there had to be people guarding nearby. If they were discovered by their younger brothers and sisters, they would come out directly. If they were not discovered, they would continue to hide. Just now, when Xiao Bei's group of 9 were fighting with that person underwater, one of the 4 people clearly saw that that person didn't manage to catch anyone. Otherwise, he would have rushed over and hit him with an awl. Hearing her brother's words, Xiao Bei came over and held her brother's hand. She said, Brother, you don't know how dangerous it was just now. Luckily, I dodged at the critical moment. At that time, I was thinking that since he rushed over like that, I should, good, you're brave and resourceful. After hearing his sister's exaggerated words, Zhang Xiaobao praised her. Xiao Bei embarrassedly twisted her body twice and said, "Actually, it's not bad. It's mainly because brother taught me well. You two, stop flattering each other. See how they are doing. Ask them if there's anyone above them, just in case someone hasn't come down yet." Wang Wan was amused by Xiao Bei's appearance. She looked at the person who had just been rescued and said this. "I'm asking you, is there anyone above you?" Xiao Bei circled around the person and asked. "No, I'm not convinced. You have more people. You took advantage of my unpreparedness and won an unfair battle." The person who was caught by the neck was indignant. "TCH, I'm not convinced. I'm much younger than you, and I'm not as strong as you. You dare to say that I ambushed you? Do you know who betrayed you? I was playing in the water and ambushing our people. In the end, he attacked us when we weren't paying attention. He was still knocked out by us. The winner takes all, and the loser takes all. Don't look for excuses. It's impossible for me to let you go. If I fought you fairly in the water, that's not confidence, that's recklessness. I only look at the results, not the process. Humph, that won't work on me." Xiao Bei did not fall for it. She even kicked the person a few times. She tilted her head and said, "What can you do to me?" The person wanted to say something, but he was dragged away by the others. They dragged him to a place far away from the children for interrogation. Although Xiao Bei and the others were used to seeing blood, they still had to avoid it. It would not be good if they were taught too much. Zhang Xiaobao looked at his younger siblings who still wanted to play in the water and said, "Don't go down. We've caught the person, and this trip to Lu Mountain is coming to an end. We have other things to do when we get back. I'll take you to see the other 2 waterfalls on Lu Mountain today and tomorrow. It's time for you to settle down." Oh, Xiao Bei stopped and walked back with her head lowered. It was obvious she had not played enough. At the side, Wang Wan said, "The next step is to take the land route to Luzhou. Come with us. There's still plenty to play on the way. When we arrive, there's the sea. You can continue swimming." Huh. Xiao Bei immediately cheered up. It was fine as long as they did not have to stay in one place. 2 days later, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan brought their younger siblings and set off for Xuanyang. At the same time, they had informed Hangzhou to let Li Longji take a boat over so that they could meet at the lake. After that, they would change to the land route and head to Luzhou. They would keep an eye on the railway. At the same time, they would let Li Longji have a good trip. Otherwise, Li Longji would never be allowed to look at the sea in the south, let alone go to the ends of the earth that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had named. They had another purpose in coming to Xuanyang. Their younger siblings had promised the people in Xuanyang that they would come up with ideas to increase the number of roads in the area. They wanted to see the actual situation there so that they could come up with a solution. In Hangzhou, Li Longji was still accompanying Jiang Wang clan to do publicity every day. After the first day, Jiang Wang clan was addicted to it. The next day, she would still go out and tell others about the benefits of having more worries. After a few days, the news was no longer sealed. The news spread quickly. Some of the wealthier families brought their pregnant women to Hangzhou. They were not lacking in the price of the gifts they could get. Instead, they wanted to see Xiaobao and Cuckoo's mother. Everyone had lives in their bellies. If they were close, they could absorb the immortal energy of others. Perhaps they could give birth to very smart children. When Zhang Xiaobao sent the news from Mount Lu to Hangzhou, Jiang Wang clan was talking to a woman who had come from Suzhou. She personally told the woman what to pay attention to when she was pregnant and that she could not stay at home all the time. She needed to go to the clinic every once in a while to have a doctor take her pulse or use a stethoscope to listen to her movements. There were no other medical devices at the moment, such as ultrasound. They could only rely on the tools and methods available. If the child in the womb was disabled, there was nothing they could do. They had to give birth to the child. Of course, if the child was stillborn, they could tell that it was missing a heartbeat. Even so, the people of Tang were very satisfied. At the very least, they were not afraid of dystocia. They also did not have to worry about accidentally hurting the child when they were doing things. Li Longji was at the side, talking to the men of other pregnant women. He had completely let go of his status as the emperor. To be precise, he had changed to another way to reflect his status. When he met and talked to the people, no one would say that he was no longer the emperor. They would only say that he was closer to the people. An emperor who was in the hearts of the people was more convenient to carry out orders than an emperor who could only be imagined. Reporting, the matter at Mount Lu is over. The Bohai Jidushi has sent a message. Most of the enemies have been captured. Only a few are still hiding. There is no need to personally deal with the follow-up matters at the Jiangnan West Road. Your Majesty can set off in a few days and meet at Pengli Lake. While Li Longji was talking to the people around him about the importance of more children to Tang, a messenger squeezed in from outside and handed over the translated telegram. Wei Wei nodded to the people around him. Li Longji listened to the messenger and took the telegram. He said with satisfaction, "The matter at Mount Lu is also over? Xiaobao's actions are truly extraordinary. All those who are caught are former citizens of the Great Tang. All of them are to be sentenced severely. As for those from other countries, lock them up for us first. Wait until us decide on where to deploy our troops. You must remember that you must not betray the country, and you must not think of betraying the country. Otherwise, no one will be able to escape. Our Tang is united, so why would we betray you? We will not let you off easily." Li Longji's last words were naturally for the people who were listening to the message. The people nodded in agreement. They all felt that the troublemakers were too evil. The country was doing well, so why did they have to join forces with others to destroy it? Wouldn't the people of Tang be harmed in the end? Your Majesty, don't worry. I will definitely not do anything harmful to Tang. I even sent gifts to the school. Bad people can't escape. They thought that they were very smart, but when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo made their move, they were all finished, right? They were all captured, right? Not only did they fail to harm others, they also harmed themselves. As soon as Li Longji finished speaking, someone in the crowd shouted. Li Longji looked in the direction of the voice and saw Wei Wei smiling. The people who were shouting were the inner court members of the Zhang family and Wang family. Previously, they were hiding in the crowd to monitor others, but now they were showing their faces to echo Li Longji's words. Since there was a leader, the other people did not know what was going on. They all shouted and made promises. The scene was chaotic. Your Majesty, it's time to go back. We have to set off immediately, and we can't delay. The railway is of utmost importance, Wang Ju said. Let's go. Li Longji said and nodded at the people around him. Then he turned around and walked toward Wang Ju's mansion. Naturally, Madame Zhang and Madame Wang also went back with them. When they heard that the children had solved the problem, they were both happy and reluctant to leave. They still had to stay in Hangzhou until the children were born. They could not continue to follow Luzhou, although both of them missed the days when they lived in Luzhou. Little Bei's 4 children were born in Luzhou. At that time, they were forced by circumstances. It was also from then on that the first caesarean section was made in Tang Dynasty. However, it was likely that they could no longer go to Luzhou. Otherwise, Wang Ju would be suspicious and think that they had left. They would be worried about giving birth to their children here. Sister, how good would it be if we could go to Luzhou and give birth to our children? Little Yuan and little Zhu were born there, Wang Wan's mother said to Zhang family regretfully as she stroked her belly. Zhang family also wished to go to Luzhou. If they could go there back then, why couldn't they go now? Since they could not travel by land, they could travel by water. There were no strong winds or waves, and the boats at home were more than enough. Wang Ju sighed regretfully and said, I'll ask Xiao Bao and see what Xiao Bao has to say. Chapter 1104. 10 days later, Li Longji and the others arrived at the entrance of Pengli Lake. Along the way, they saw several fleets returning to Bohai Sea and hot air balloons flying away. The matter was almost over. People from all over the world couldn't stay in one place forever, especially in Bohai Sea. This time, Japan was involved. If the gunboats didn't go back, people would think that Tang wasn't angry with them, and things would get worse in the future. Apart from Gao Lishir, Empress Wang, Wu Huifei, Pan, and Wang Ju followed Li Longji. He wasn't an official in Hangzhou. He had skipped work and returned home. In the past, he had a good relationship with Li Longji. Now that the past was in the past, he naturally had to follow Li Longji. As for his official position, he wasn't in a hurry. He would arrange it when he returned to the capital. He left the main meeting of the Fishing Association in Hangzhou to someone else. He also brought many fishing enthusiasts with him on the other ships. He said that he would take them to Luzhou to see the difference between the sea there and the sea in Jiangnan and whether fishing was the same. To put it bluntly, he didn't want to give up the power in his hands. Although he was just a fishing enthusiast, those who could join the association were all rich people, except for those who were good at fishing and who were here for money. If he controlled these people, it would be easier for him to communicate with Tang in the future. According to his grandson, he wanted to develop the Fishing Association into an international organization. Not only did he want to fish in Tang, but he also wanted to fish in the places where the army would attack in the future under the premise of protection. He wanted to use the Fishing Association as a huge force to manage. Wang Ju wasn't stupid at all. He immediately understood what his grandson was planning. It might not be difficult for the army to attack with the support of advanced weapons, but the difficult part was how to occupy the place. It was impossible to let the locals occupy the place. What if they were not close to Tang in the future? The best way was to move the people in the places where the war was over to Tang and send the people there. If the Zhang family and the Wang family and the imperial court were to pay for it, it would be too expensive. If he followed the angling association there, he would be able to get more fish that the great Tang didn't have. He could bring them back and sell them for more money. Then he would be able to attract the members to find ways to get people to occupy space there. At the same time, it could promote the construction of roads and increase the speed of travel, so that the colonization period would not be too long. If the great Tang in the past wanted to become independent, they would not be able to send soldiers over in a short amount of time, and they would have to switch back every few years. The future is still too far away. I don't know if I'll be able to see that day. Wang Ju sighed as she thought about the future. He was sitting with Li Longji on the highest floor of the ship, looking at the scenery. Li Longji heard what he said and asked, "What is it, Longji?" "Your Majesty, it is this subject who has thought about how in the future, when the great Tang occupies more land, it will be easier for soldiers to deploy. However, it will be difficult for the common people to move about in the land that they occupy, and it will be inconvenient for them to manage the land. The regional commanders will also be in danger of not obeying orders. This is truly difficult." Wang Ju shook his head and continued to sigh. Li Longji and Wei Wei were taken aback. Then they laughed and said, "You worry too much, Your Majesty. This is not a difficult matter. It's just a matter of building roads. Once the roads are built, you'll understand. The train is very fast. In the future, wherever the roads are built, the great Tang can no longer send officials to punish them. That's not a punishment, it's a blessing." Gao Lishir smiled and said, "You're right, Your Majesty. Luzhou is the place where the officials are sent. Now, the imperial court has stopped sending people to Luzhou. Once they are sent, the officials who are sent to Luzhou will take the ship directly to Luzhou. Their families are very happy, and they're waiting for the railway to be built. The land route will do as well. Yes, Luzhou is good. Xiao Bao and the others are capable. A place that no one was willing to go to was turned into a place like this by them. There's also Hangzhou. There used to be many fishing villages, and life wasn't easy. Ever since the water transportation was developed and there were more ships, Hangzhou has become a bustling place. However, I heard that the steel used to build the railway was gathered by the great Tang, and many places were damaged. If we don't use the railway and build other roads, the imperial court won't be able to provide enough money. If we don't have other medical and educational facilities, it would be fine. However, I don't think the Great Tang's money is enough now. Wang Ju flattered Li Longji before he talked about the difficulties of the imperial court, especially the issue of giving birth to children and helping to raise them. He had never thought about it before, and he did not dare to think about it. However, now that the imperial court had some money, he was worried that it would not be enough. Li Longji laughed heartily. It seems that you haven't been in contact with Xiao Bao for long enough. You don't know Xiao Bao's abilities. I've been with him for a long time, and I've come to realize that there's no need to spend the imperial court's money on cultivation. We can just spend the people's money and issue national bonds. When the roads are built, we can buy things from other places and sell them in Great Tang. That way, we can return the interest from the national bonds. We can also let the merchants invest in the roads. When the roads are built, they will get a share of the benefits. When the goods are transported, they will get a share of the profits. In the future, when the imperial court is no longer in charge of the business, the roads will be charged. When the fees are collected, it will be over. Manpower is cheap as well. Give some food and some money from Great Tang, and people from other places will be more than willing to do the hard work. I don't think you'll understand if I tell you now. Let's talk on the road. When we return to the capital, come with me. I'll show you something good. It should be done by then. The officials of the imperial court will have a stake in it, after all. What kind of treasure is it? Wang Ju truly did not know how amazing the Bureau of Works could be. He only knew that the three most important departments in Great Tang were controlled by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. The first was the Agricultural Temple. It was in charge of the research on new plant species in Great Tang, and it was also in charge of agriculture and breeding. The second was the Great Tang Bank. It was in charge of the wealth of Great Tang, especially the taxes. The money was directly transferred to the bank, and there was no need to transport the copper coins to the capital. The money spent on the road was already a large portion. If the bank were to suddenly collapse, many people in Great Tang would cry. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was the lifeline of the country. The third was the Bureau of Works. The best craftsmen of Great Tang were gathered there, and there were many technologies and theories waiting for the craftsmen to learn. More importantly, it provided the technologies used by the military. Whoever controlled the Bureau of Works would be in charge of the weapons and future upgrades. Even the transmission of information was made by the Bureau of Works. It was said that a large proportion of them had been damaged during production, but money had still been invested into them. The importance of information was self-evident. Otherwise, there would be no need for the beacon towers. These three had always been in the hands of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, and they wielded great power. To put it bluntly, the two of them could even have the Emperor of Great Tang change his surname. After a war, they were certain to be the final victors. The things the emperor was speaking of were probably from the Bureau of Works, because it was said that an official of the imperial court had invested money to establish a new company in the Bureau of Works. Is it because the steam engine has become smaller? Can it travel on the road like a carriage? Wang Ju pondered for a moment, and before anyone could answer, she asked, "Qing is truly extraordinary. Although it's not the truth, it's not far off. It's something that can replace a carriage on the road, but not a smaller steam engine. No matter how small a steam engine is, it still needs to burn things. Where can it get water and combustible materials? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo call it an internal combustion engine. It also needs water and combustible materials, but not much. When I came out, a finished product was already made, but it still needs some time before it can be used. The finished product is prone to spoilage due to the lack of skill. There are many technologies that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have mentioned that we don't have. There are some things that we can only use a file to create bit by bit. When Li Longji talked about technology, he was filled with worry. He was still worried that the other party had a country that was skilled in technology. Wang Ju asked in bewilderment, "File? Can something good be made with a file? That's right. Gao Lisher said, don't underestimate this file. Nowadays, when apprentices want to graduate, it's not like before. They learn more systematically. When they graduate, they are given an iron rod and a file. Apprentices have to make things according to various requirements. The more complicated the things they make, the higher their graduation evaluation, the better they can do in the future, and the higher their salary. The simplest one is to make a small hammer with these two things. Not only does the shape have to be correct, but it also has to be smooth to the touch. Wang Ju opened his mouth and said in surprise, one iron rod and a file. At the very least, they have to make a hammer like that? This is the simplest one, but what about the difficult one? How is that possible? Why is it impossible? I have personally seen them do it. Every other day, they will bring it to me for a look until they are done. In the future, the most important department in Tang will be called Tang Heavy Industries. The people who work there must have a certain level of ability. It will not be like now, where they have to deal with the people first. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's requirements are very high. Usually, when the workers are not using pressure tools, they can know the degree of sealing by blowing on it with their mouth. If there is a 0.2 millimeter error in the workpiece, they can tell by touching it with their hands or eyes, and so on. Regardless of whether there are more advanced tools to measure, the workers have to do it with their own experience and ability. This is the foundation of a great Tang heavy industry. They said that in some places, the same parts can be assembled by different people, and the accuracy will be different even if they are given the same measuring tools. When Li Longji spoke, it was as if he was proud that the people in Great Tang's Ministry of Works could do it. On the other hand, Wang Ju was dumbfounded. How could the things that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were talking about be possible? As for the places that the emperor was talking about, it naturally referred to the places where the experts behind them came from. So that was the case. While Wang Ju was still in shock, the silhouettes of a fleet appeared on the lake, and it gradually grew larger. Your Majesty, Xiao Bao, and the others are here. When Gao Lisher saw the fleet, he took the binoculars from the person beside him and said to Li Longji, they're only here now? We thought that they would be waiting for us, but they actually made us wait. When we meet later, let's see how we deal with them. Humph. Li Longji said in dissatisfaction. After waiting for a little more than 15 minutes, the two fleets finally met up. A long rope was tossed over, and someone immediately laid down a rolled-up wooden planks. Using the rope, the wooden planks were threaded together like a mat. As soon as the wooden planks were laid down, a small figure ran over from the opposite side and threw herself into Li Longji's arms, saying, Uncle Emperor, I missed you so much. Did you miss me? Did you? If you didn't, then I'll be unhappy. Be gentle. Yes, I missed you. I missed you during the day, at night, and when you were eating. Let me see, did you lose weight? No, you actually became heavier. How did you eat? Li Longji hugged the slightly taller Xiao Bei and said happily, I'm still young, and I'm still growing. Of course I'm heavier. I'm not fat at all. I trained my body, and I even caught people in the water. We're amazing. Brother Xiaohai was injured, and Uncle Emperor wants to take revenge for us. But you're not allowed to talk about my brother and sister. Xiao Bei waved her fists and said that she caught people in the water. Li Longji just said that he would deal with them when they came. At this moment he quickly said, I won't deal with them. Your brother and sister have done a great service, and you have also done a great service. If you want a reward, tell me, what do you want? What do I want? I don't know what I want. I just want to see Uncle Emperor happy. I'll discuss it with them later. We won't ask for it for free. When Lu Zhou arrives, we'll personally go into the sea to get food for Uncle Emperor. We'll let Big Brother cook for us, okay? Xiao Bei pretended to be thinking. After thinking for a while, she still could not think of what reward she wanted. Previously, she was only thinking about the reward. What about me? Wang Ju asked when he saw his granddaughter pouncing to the emperor's side as soon as she arrived. Grandfather, you're good too. Grandfather, let me tell you. Xiao Bei left Li Longji's side and jumped into Wang Ju's arms again. She did not want to offend anyone. While they were talking, the other children, including Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, also came over. Pan and her brother, who were originally in the cabin, also ran over and shouted happily. The two of them could already remember people and knew that the person in front of them was their father. They looked around for their mother. Zhang Xiaobao, Military Governor Zhang Xiaobao, how dare you make me wait for you? Tell me, what punishment do you deserve? Li Longji glared at Zhang Xiaobao when he saw him. This subject asks for your majesty's forgiveness. This subject deserves 10,000 deaths. This subject should first put aside the matter of the people of Xuanyang and come here to wait for your majesty. This subject will go back and tell the people of Xuanyang that I won't do what I promised them until your majesty calms down. What do you think, your majesty? Zhang Xiaobao bowed and begged for forgiveness. Don't use the people to scare me. Let me ask you, how do you want to end this matter? Li Longji asked about the captured people. Chapter 1105. Your Majesty, it would be better to first discuss the matter of the common people of Xuanyang. In the last few days, this subject has racked his brains and finally thought of a plan that can compensate for the losses suffered by the common people of Xuanyang. This subject brother and sister have taken great care of us, so the common people should be the most important. Hearing Li Longji ask about how to deal with the surrounding countries, Zhang Xiaobao frowned. He and Wang Wan still hadn't thought clearly about what strategy to use against whom. The implications were too great, so it wasn't as simple as dealing with the common people. Wang Wan also nodded. She admitted that it was very simple for her and Zhang Xiaobao to deal with the matter of Xuanyang. In truth, it was the same in the past. If they had truly sent the scholars of the various research departments to a single county to do research, in a situation where there was no exchange of benefits, it was very easy to raise the local economy. The reason they didn't do that, besides the exchange of benefits between the various powers, was that capable people would not want to go to a place to do small things. It was beneath their status. It was not as important as being a think tank, scheming with other colleagues, or dealing with the country's large environmental construction. Selfishness, it was that simple. At this time, she and Zhang Xiaobao did not need to exchange benefits with others. Even the officials of the imperial court, who represented their families or powers, could not pose a threat to the two of them. If anyone dared to cause trouble, they would be killed. How simple was that? Thus, calming down and inspecting the local economic structure and human resources was quite easy for them to come up with a good idea. Li Longji looked at Wang Wan. Seeing Wang Wan's pensive expression, he also raised his eyebrows and said, Xiaobao, foreign affairs are the most important. Don't complain to us. Dealing with a small place like Xuanyang requires you to put so much thought into it. If so, we will take back the authority in your hands to prevent you from overworking yourself. This year, in the east and west of Jiangnan, all the officials who have not been caught will be demoted by 1 rank. Those who have just taken office will be warned, deducted subsidies. We will not listen to their explanations. They will say that they have just taken office and are not familiar with the situation. What were they thinking before taking office? How did they write the plan for taking office? This year, all the newly promoted officials will be demoted by 2 ranks and have their salaries deducted for 2 years. If they do not perform well next year, they will be removed from office. If they enter the lower ranks, they will be killed. Did they really think that they had nothing to do with the hidden dangers that occurred in the places they used to stay after they were promoted? According to what you and Cuckoo have said, if an official carries out a policy, it will show results in a short period of time. But not long after, it will cause problems for the people and money, and they will be held responsible. What you said to Cuckoo is very good. You need political achievements to be promoted, but you shouldn't do it for the sake of political achievements. The eyes of the people are as clear as snow, and I am not blind. In a few years, the first 2 batches of children from Chaoyang Action School will be able to become officials. In the future, when they become local officials, they will still carry out their policies despite knowing that they could harm the lives of the people. If they harm one person, I will kill them as well. The Tang Empire lacks other things, but it definitely doesn't lack officials. If it really doesn't work, I will use your family's inner court to replace them. Oh, is it because the gun is not accurate? Speak, Xiunyang, what do you want to do? Speak boldly. Even if it's wrong, we will not kill you and Cuckoo. If the plan is to double the people's income in 3 years, after 3 years, if the people's income is not doubled, the two of you will pay for it yourselves. We will be magnanimous toward you, right? Then what if the plan is to double the income, but the result is to triple the income? Zhang Xiaobao asked. First, it shows that your calculations are not accurate. If you can double the income this time, you might double the income next time. If it's a problem with your ability, you will be fined to help you correct it. Second, you deliberately concealed the information, which is the crime of deceiving the emperor. You underreported the data and did not do your best. You are not willing to take responsibility, so you will be fined to help you correct it. Li Longji said with a serious expression. Empress Wang, who had come out of the cabin to see her son and daughter, couldn't help but laugh when she heard Li Longji's words. Wu Huifei also covered her mouth with her hand, but her eyes were smiling. Zhang Xiaobao nodded as if he had accepted his fate. All right, this subject understands. Your Majesty, your plan is truly ingenious. This subject admires it greatly. In other words, as long as I am kind-hearted enough to come up with some ideas, I will have to bear the risk of being fined, right? Yes, Qing is indeed extraordinarily intelligent, haha. Li Longji also laughed as he spoke. The haze that had clouded his heart over the past few days because of the incident in Jiangnan seemed to have been swept away. Xiaobao, Cuckoo, the unparalleled scholars of the nation. But that's all there is to it. Oh, not unparalleled. It should be my Tang, 2 swords in harmony. Let me guess, what is your plan? Xiunyang, Linjiang, and Peng Lake. So it must be based on water transportation. Xiaobao's plan is consecutive, so I'll mention a few things. First, the shipbuilding industry. Taking advantage of the geographical advantage, it is easy to test ships. The lake has flat waves, while the river has rough waves. The newly built ships can be tested on both types of water. Second, the docks. Back then, when your family bought the Xiaoyuashui River north of Sanshui County, the first thing you used was various kinds of relatively advanced loading and unloading tools. Now that the Ministry of Works has advanced technology, using them at the Xiunyang docks, the results are particularly good. You can also work with the shipbuilding industry to design the number of ships that can be loaded at the docks. Third, tourism. The scenery of Mount Lu is beautiful, and you can arrange for tour guides to wait at the docks. The roads are smooth and travel is convenient. Just the food and lodging alone is not a small amount of income. The above 3 points can be said to be interlinked. What do you think? Li Longji seemed to have forgotten the pain after his wounds healed. As long as he was facing Zhang Xiaobao, he would definitely think of a way to win through strategy. Although he had never succeeded, he still enjoyed it. Your Majesty's plan is good. Wang Ju immediately began to flatter. Xiaobao, this subject admires you the most when it comes to strategy. However, your Majesty is always able to point out the key points. This subject is inferior. Xiaobao, is this what you think? Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips twice, but didn't say anything. Wang Wan covered her mouth with her hand and laughed. When Wang Ju saw this, he said, "Is it not? Your Majesty's plan is one that benefits the country." Enough, don't say any more. We've been looked down upon again. Consort Huifei, what do you say? Li Longji knew that he had failed again, so he gloomily asked Consort Wu Huifei. That was because Consort Wu Huifei had also begun to study this. Your Majesty, this subject's consort actually has the same idea as Your Majesty. However, this subject's consort can add on 1 point. If the 2 sides of the Yangtze River cooperate with each other, they can glide high up in the sky and transport goods back and forth. The quantity is small each time, but it can be transported continuously. This is more convenient and safer than ships. Since this is the case, perhaps there is no need for Xiao Bao to think about what this subject's consort can think of. Right now, there's already a shipyard in the middle of a lake, and the tourist route is also continuing to be improved. There is no need to talk about the docks. Xiao Bao's compensation is to provide timely assistance, not to add flowers to embroidery. It is the local official's job to come up with a plan on top of what has already happened. It is not Xiao Bao's wish. Consort Wu Huifei followed Li Longji's suggestion and brought up another point. At the side, Empress Wang and Gao Lishir had smiles on their faces, as if they already knew. Wang Ju, on the other hand, was slightly embarrassed. He had only wanted to curry favor, but he had probably failed. However, he still had doubts in his heart. He admitted that his grandson and granddaughter-in-law were formidable, but no matter how formidable they were, there had to be a limit. His grandson's idea of setting up the fishing association was not bad, but it was making something out of nothing. The two of them were also skilled at investigating people, but they were also meticulous and skilled. Right now, they were talking about the livelihood of the people of Xuanyang. Xuanyang did not have long legs to run elsewhere. It had been there since ancient times. Other than the convenience of water transportation and the ability to build ships, what else could they have thought of? Fishing? Someone had already done this before. Since it was just adding flowers to embroidery, they naturally would not tell others to continue fishing, unless there was a better method. Oh, there was also the matter of pearl farming in freshwater. There were many freshwater lakes in the Great Tang that were suitable for pearl farming. Now that there was the technology, this was also not a good idea. Pondering, Wang Ju asked his grandson, Xiao Bao, did the Ministry of Works come up with a new fishing technology? Are they going to use it? Grandfather, the fishing technology is under the management of the Agriculture Temple. They do have the technology, but it can't be used in the rivers of the Great Tang. It can be used with electricity, explosives, drugs, and many advanced fishing nets. If it's used, it won't take long. Within 5 years, there will be no fish left in the Great Tang. It's better to leave something for future generations. Not to mention rivers and lakes, even the surrounding seas will be emptied if it's used. We have to catch fish, prawns, and crabs as fast as they are born. Lu Zhou's fishing efficiency is very high, and he has many fishing boats. However, he also has to set a fishing holiday. It's the same for the hawksbill turtles in the sea. If we seek temporary pleasure, we will be scolded by future generations. Zhang Xiaobao now cherished the things he saw that were already extinct at that time. One should leave a way out. There was no need to kill everything. It was not for others, but for one's own descendants. When Wang Ju saw his grandson's objection, he asked, "This won't do, that won't do. What other good ideas can you come up with?" "I don't believe it." "Grandfather, you're right. I don't have any good ideas. I just want to help the local people find some work and earn more money. I can't catch the fish too much, but I can raise them like pearls. The fish raised are easier to catch and they grow faster. We can let the people near the lake raise them. We have the tools and technology now. It's not necessary to raise them in deep water. Shallow water is fine too. It's just that many people haven't thought of it." Zhang Xiaobao explained. Wang Ju looked enlightened. He said, "Are you asking the people in Xuanyang to raise them?" "That's right, but what about cereal schemes? Haven't you always used cereal schemes?" "Cereal schemes? Grandfather, it's all what other people said. I don't need that title. I just want to do something for the people. It doesn't matter if I'm cereal or not. I'm a person." "Enough, Xiaobao, I'll say for you." Wang Wan couldn't help but interject. Xiaobao isn't planning on having the people in Xuanyang raise things. He wants to set up a few processing factories in Xuanyang, separating the bones, skin, and meat of the fish and processing them. The resulting products can be used in industry and agriculture. At the same time, there's also a place to research and process cosmetics. Freshwater farming can have pearls, seaweed, fish oil, and so on. In addition, the oil from the animals of Mount Lu, like snakes, can also be processed into things that are good for the body. He can use these things to drive the local industrial chain. At the same time, he can also help the surrounding areas with industries that are lacking. Besides processing, he can also collect and manage the medicinal herbs on the surface of the water. Wang Ju was confused, but Li Longji was dumbfounded. It really was extraordinary. He asked, "Anything else?" "Of course. When did Xiao Bao ever use serial schemes?" Wang Wan proudly said. Chapter 1106. Wang Wan's pride came from the depths of her heart. Other people might have already assumed that Zhang Xiaobao should be like this, but she was well aware that Zhang Xiaobao had experienced far too many things, and his usual job was to figure out how to swindle others. If one wanted to swindle others, one had to first understand the situation of the place and the various factors involved. Otherwise, how could one succeed in swindling others? Others weren't fools. It could be said that any swindler who could swindle an official, if they calmed down and earnestly did their work, would be able to achieve some success. It was just that they found the return period to be too long and the investment too large. And even if Zhang Xiaobao didn't stand at the peak of this industry, he was still in existence at the very top of the organization that couldn't be ignored. In the past, he had done many bad things, and of course, he had also done many good things. But ever since he had followed her to the Great Tang, he had never used the methods he had in the past to target the common people of the Great Tang. This was a pride that belonged to her, and also a pride that belonged to both of them. On this journey, while she didn't dare say that everything she did was correct, she definitely had a clear conscience. While Wang Wan was in a state of pride, the others were anxious. Wang Ju had never imagined that his grandson would come up with such an idea. Feeling that it wasn't magnanimous enough, he impatiently asked, "Cuckoo, why is it a small workshop in the processing industry?" "A small workshop in the processing industry?" Wang Wan came to her senses and repeated the concept in bewilderment. Flabbergasted, she asked, "Grandfather, you think it's a small matter?" "Naturally." Wang Ju nodded. "The things that other people grow, the things they find in the mountains, the things they raise in the rivers and lakes, if you take them to do odd jobs, how much money can the common people of Xuanyang earn?" "How much money?" Xiao Bao's idea is to build a center around Xuanyang that gathers all the surrounding resources for precision processing and distribution. It will drive all the industrial chains in the Xuanyang area. Even if there's a stall selling yuntan in Xuanyang, it will make a fortune in the future. For a moment, Wang Wan felt that she couldn't explain it clearly to Wang Ju. There were too many things involved, and it was difficult for Wang Ju to understand with just a few words. Not to mention fine processing, even if she provided a supplementary ration, once it was done on a large scale, the economic benefits would be frightening. Moreover, Xuanyang's geographical location was blessed by the heavens. If he and Xiao Bao had been born in Xuanyang, they would have developed even faster. How could that shabby Sanshui County compare to this place? But Wang Ju still couldn't understand how a simple processing industry could help the people of Xuanyang earn so much money. "Ju, I'll give you a book later. It's a political economy book written by Cuckoo and Xiao Bao. Take some time to read it. You'll know everything when you read it." Cuckoo continued. When Li Longji saw Wang Ju's expression, he suddenly felt that his intelligence had increased. Although he couldn't guess Xiao Bao's idea, he could at least understand what Cuckoo was saying. He was much better than someone who couldn't understand at all. When Wang Ju saw the expressions of the emperor and the others, he knew that they understood everything. He was the only one who still didn't understand. Thus, he humbly nodded and said no more. Wang Wan continued, "Then there's the local processing technology. Moreover, the work of the physically weak, such as the elderly and women of the family, they will be responsible for looking after things. At the same time, they will use their free time to weave things like willow weaves. They will use branches, reeds, and bamboo to weave boxes of different sizes. The shapes will be as uniform as possible. In the future, they will slowly develop into unique handicrafts. If there are idle people in the family, they will have to run a snack stall. In the future, there will be more people coming and going from Xuanyang. The cost of running a restaurant will be too high, so it won't be easy to run. The snack stall will invest less, but the return will be faster. Cuckoo, isn't it like Homgnome County's Old Willow Village? When the time comes, Xiaobao will come up with a good advertising slogan. Old Willow Village's slogan was thought of by Xiaobei and the others. It's called Grow a Doll of Your Own. What is Xuanyang? Wu Huifei followed along, appearing very engrossed in her thoughts. She thought that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were repeating Old Willow Village's idea. Wang Wan lightly shook her head. There's no need. Old Willow Village's development can be replicated, but Xuanyang doesn't need it. As long as Xuanyang does it, it will definitely make money. If the locals don't want to sell, others will force them to buy. This is because the railway passes through Xuanyang. I know that the railway passes through Xuanyang, but that's the work of transporting goods. Wang Ju also knew. I've asked around. The Great Tang has brought in quite a few people from other places, especially Japan. There are also aboriginals from overseas, as well as Kunlun slaves and so on. When the train passes by a river, the small river will use iron and cement to build a sturdy bridge. The large river will transfer to the ship, and the carriages will be transported over and reassembled. I heard that they also need to blow up mountains and dig ditches. Quite a few people will die. Very good, they won't use the people of my Great Tang. Since they want to pass through Xuanyang, they probably need to sail on the river. Why don't they increase the number of people at the docks to help transport goods? From the south, it's impossible to transport all the goods to Luoyang and the capital. By the time they reach Xuanyang, the Yangtze River will require even more goods. The train will unload a portion of the goods, load them with local specialties, and continue north. I believe that increasing the labor force is better. As Wang Ju spoke, he gestured. He seemed to be imagining the scene of the Xuanyang docks bustling with people, constantly transporting goods. It was a scene of prosperity. Also, can they build a railway from the south to the north in a year? The journey is long, and there are many places with mountains and rivers. Can the Ministry of Works' technology really do it? Wang Ju once again began to have doubts about the railway. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao took a deep breath and said, "To tell the truth, it can be built. But if 1 million people were to build the railway without any regard for the cost, I estimate that less than 10 or 20% of them would survive. In special circumstances, they would even need to increase the number of people. The Ministry of Works' technology is far from enough. So what should we do? When we reach the small river, we build the bridge. When we reach the large river, we blow up the mountain. No matter how many people die, even if we have to use human lives to fill in the gaps, we still have to build the railway. When the railway is finished, it can be said that every inch of railway is an inch of blood. When the two wheels turn, they truly go against the harmony of the heavens. But so what? Cuckoo and I will take it on ourselves. We have never thought that our hands would be stained with blood. So what if we get stained with it again?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan toward the end of his words. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Their meaning was to let the history books scold them. They believed that the people of Great Tang would remember what happened. Whatever others say, let them say it. In any case, this was what they were going to do, and they could do whatever they wanted. Wang Wan said with a smile, "Yes, this road will be built. Normally, it would take more than 2 years according to the rules of a certain time in another place. But we will definitely finish it in 1 year. When there are too many lice, we don't mind being bitten, and when there are too many resentful ghosts, we are not afraid of being entangled. Whoever dares to stop us, Xiaobao and I will destroy gods and demons." The words of the two of them made Li Longji and the others gasp. Even the emperor of a generation felt his liver tremble when he heard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan say that they would scam millions of people. It was even worse than Bai Qi. Suddenly, Li Longji thought of the rules that Wang Wan said at a certain time. He asked, "Cuckoo, where and when were the rules?" "It's the place at that time." Wang Wan gave an answer. She believed that Li Longji would understand. The railway that she and Zhang Xiaobao wanted to build was similar to the route in the past. Even with the technology at that time, it still took more than 2 years to build, not to mention the difficulty of building it now. However, the process of building it was different. At that time, people died because they were not careful. For example, when they were blowing up a mountain, if there was really danger, they would stop and use other methods to solve a problem. The two of them did not need to do that. If there was a dud during the explosion, they would continue to blow it up and were not allowed to stop. Even if the dud suddenly went off just as they were passing by, they would throw the debris aside. The people behind them would still have to step in and hit the holes of the cannon. When opening up the road, there were too many rocks. Even if they had to carry them, they would have to clear the place. After all, the people who died were not from Great Tang, so what was there to be afraid of? As for other people dying, what could they do? They could even throw an atomic bomb. After they threw it, wouldn't the place where they were thrown be like a grandson hugging a thigh? This was how countries worked. If you were strong, you could slap the other party, and the other party would have to smile and ask you if your hand hurt. If you were a coward, even if you didn't slap the other party would still slap you. You could never hope to treat the weak well when you were strong. Once you were weak and the other party became strong, they would still treat you well. Li Longji didn't know that he had been tricked all this time. He thought that the two of them were talking about that country. That country had built such a long railway, and even with more advanced technology than Great Tang, it still took more than 2 years. His Great Tang had to be faster. It was no wonder Xiaobao and Cuckoo were willing to use human lives to build the railway. Right, even if their technology was inferior to others, they still had to have their own ability to do things. If that's the case, we will think of a way to find people to build the railway. However, if your clan is willing to fork out the money, we will give you other things. Who will be willing to use them? Li Longji hardened his confidence, but he was also worried that he didn't have enough money. He couldn't possibly return the money after the other party took out the money, so he could only offer other benefits. Your Majesty, we have enough money. We didn't spend any money on the ores used to smelt the steel. We used the name of the imperial court to mine the ores, and we also didn't need to spend any money on the coal and other materials. The only thing we need is the transportation fee. There's also the labor fee. Even if the labor fee isn't used on the smelting, they can still do other things and earn money. Seeing that Li Longji was once more worried about money, Zhang Xiaobao spoke some words of reassurance. They didn't need much money in the first place. How much money did Jingjiu spend? There were many materials that didn't need money. The only thing that worried him was the speed of the construction. The other party had many railways in Jingjiu, and they weren't starting from scratch. Right now, Great Tang only had a single railway from Luoyang to the capital. In a different place, besides not caring about the lives and deaths of people, the local authorities wouldn't have any disputes, and the people would cooperate if they had to move aside. Without the difficulty of moving people, all they had to do was tell the people that they had to move aside, and the people would be very willing to move. They would even volunteer to help. Thinking of the advantages and disadvantages of the present and the past, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "If we're building the railway, the people of Great Tang can help with some of the less dangerous work, such as transporting the stones or carrying wood from other places. We can choose the stones for construction purposes, or we can use them to make cement. This can be used to offset the wages of the people. As for the people from other places, they don't need to be paid. The Japanese are using technology points to tempt them, and the same goes for the other places. I think that's fine, but with the Japanese dead, we probably won't be able to earn back the technology points. We still haven't settled the debt with them for this matter. And there's also that group of small countries in the southwest that can't be considered countries. Once we're free, none of them will be able to escape." Wang Wan followed Zhang Xiaobao's train of thought and felt that it was feasible. Although it would delay the time of the Great Tang people, once the railway was built, the returns would be great. Hearing the two talk about this matter, Li Longji said, "Xiaobao Cuckoo, we can't just ignore the matter of them working together to cause trouble, right? In the past, we would have already sent people to attack them, but now we need to see what the two of you think. In the past, you were still arguing with the Turks and Tibetans, and you even wanted to launch an expedition to Japan and start a full-scale war? Besides, they weren't forced to this point in the past, and it was equally difficult for them to send messages. So why would they think of working together? The people of Great Tang have become smarter, and they're learning from them. Zhang Xiaobao criticized inwardly. Then he said to Li Longji, "Cuckoo and I are thinking that we won't take a stand for the time being. We'll pass on the news to them through civilian channels and see how they react. We'll let them know that their plan has failed, but we won't do anything to give them some psychological pressure." Good plan. In that case, we'll continue to Luzhou and have someone pass on the news to them. We'll loosen the lockdown and lock up the captured people for the time being. We won't be judged or shown in public, and we'll act as if nothing happened. Li Longji immediately understood. The imperial court could not act as if they were angry. If that happened, the other places would send people to shirk responsibility and say that they were unaware and that it was someone else's doing. Then they would put themselves in the position of being wronged and ask for punishment. The imperial court was in a difficult spot. They could say that they were not going to attack, but if they attacked in the future, they would not be able to pass on the surface. They could say that they were going to attack, but they knew that they could not. If they really attacked, it would disrupt Xiaobao and Cuckoo's overall plan. Wang Ju sighed and said, "It's a pity that my Great Tang has too few capable people. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter even if we had to fight an all-out war." Gao Lisha retorted, "The Great Tang has no lack of capable people. Any of the generals it sends out will be enough to win. Coupled with the advanced weapons, it's simply impossible to lose a war. But fighting a war will cost a lot of money. At the same time, we can't send out too many elite soldiers. Those who aren't elite can't even shoot properly. In the past, even if we won a war, many people would die. The Great Tang is currently lacking in manpower and can't afford to do that." Exactly. The present can't be compared to the past. Back then, when we fought Tubo, it was Tubo who constantly harassed my Great Tang. In order to defeat them, this is not a question of victory or defeat, but a question of payment and return. My Great Tang can't have too many casualties, but it can't have too few benefits. Xiaobao and Cuckoo already have plans for the Southwest, and they have plans for Japan as well. Once they're carried out, the benefits won't be any less than if we just attack them. So why should we immediately send out soldiers? They can't compare to Duoshire. My Great Tang's true threat comes from that religious country. Their territory is large, they have many people, and they have many soldiers. Dealing with them is of the utmost importance. If we have the money from fighting Japan, it's better to use it at home. Li Longji understood that Japan was on the verge of being finished. Those merchants the Great Tang had sent over had already occupied all the places they should have, and the Japanese economy had been dealt a massive blow. Xiaobao and Cuckoo would use the least amount of effort to take Japan as quickly as possible. As for the small countries in the southwest, the Great Tang had not sent anyone to occupy them. It was better to act according to the information the two of them had given them. First, they would wear them down and make their hearts uneasy. When they had the time, they could deal with them later. Empress Wang was very interested in war. Rubbing the heads of her son and daughter, she smiled and said, "It's said that the best strategy is to defeat plans. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are exactly like this. They say that they want to subdue the enemy without fighting, but the Great Tang is fighting without fighting. It is not a war of soldiers, but it can still subdue the enemy. In a situation where military force is the guarantee, economic warfare is even more formidable. Using the excuse of helping others to harm them is the best strategy." Xiaobao, Cuckoo, you said that you would take care of Japan this year. What other methods do you have? Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment before replying, "I haven't thought about it yet. We'll discuss it later." Seeing that there was nothing else to ask, Li Longji urged Zhang Xiaobao to start cooking. "Think about what to cook first. We will eat later. You made us wait for quite some time. We are already hungry." See, the more you know, the more tired you get. Even if you know something in the future, you have to play dumb. Do you understand? Zhang Xiaobao said to his brothers and sisters, and then he went to the galley to cook. 2 days later, in the morning, everyone arrived at the southernmost shore of Lake Peng. This place was a mountain. Since they had changed to traveling by land, they naturally had to travel through the mountains. In the past, the officials who were sent to Lingnan had to travel this way. The mountain road was difficult to travel. Many people were tortured to death before they could reach their destination. Some people were chased by an imperial edict before they could reach their destination. Li Longji also had to go this time. However, he was different from the people who were sent to Lingnan. He didn't have to worry about miasma or wild beasts, and he didn't need to be in a hurry to travel. His Jinwu guards had a scale of 3,000 people. Wang Ju's family also sent 500 guards, as well as eunuchs and palace maids. In total, there were more than 5,000 people. In addition to their troops, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Ju had even more troops. The 9th Children's Protection Team had 1,000 people. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan directly brought along 5,000 guards. In addition to the helpers who were transporting things, the total number of troops was close to 30,000. It could be said to be a mighty force. If it was in the past, it would be a waste of money and manpower. However, now it was all paid for by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When they reached a certain place on the road, the common people wouldn't curse in their hearts. Not to mention that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here. Even if the two of them weren't that famous, the common people would still be very happy. They didn't need to fork out money. Wherever the troops passed, there would naturally be people in front of them who would build a simple road. For Li Longji, it was a simple road. For the common people, it was a wide road that led to the sky. It would be convenient for them to go out in the future. Moreover, the troops didn't spare the common people. On the contrary, the common people would harass the troops. When they knew who was coming, the common people took the initiative to take out the food they thought was good. There were game from the mountains and chickens and ducks that they raised at home. In just 3 days, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received more than 4,000 chicken eggs, more than 1,000 duck eggs, and nearly 700 goose eggs. Some were salty, while others were bland. It was as though they were celebrating the Dragon Boat Festival. Little Bei and the other 11 children also received a lot of ham, bacon, and pheasants. There was even a tiger that was smaller than the Manchurian tiger. It was a South China tiger. It was alive. Nobody knew how the locals caught it. They couldn't refuse it even if they wanted to. The common people stood there with their things and watched the others build the road. Then, the troops came over and looked at them eagerly. They did not make a sound. Some of the things they wanted to give were placed at their feet, while others were held in their hands. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not refuse anyone. They accepted the gifts that the common people gave them. If the troops were not moving fast, they would even talk to the common people. Little Bei sang a song and danced for the common people. Since they accepted the tiger, they naturally had to treat the common people better. Today was the 6th day on the shore. They were still far away from Luzhou. When it was almost noon, a group of local people appeared on the simple road that had just been built. They stood by the side of the road, holding the household registration documents in their hands and waiting. The household registration was something that people thought of on the 2nd day. In case there was an assassination attempt, in addition to a body search, they also needed to show their identification. Naturally, the people who were building the road in front of them were sent to check. They had to make sure that it was safe. This time, the local people did not bring too many things. They only brought a large cage made of wood. There were 2 black bears in it, and they were still alive. It seemed that the news of the tigers being sent to them had spread. The people here felt that it was not good to send eggs or other things. It would be embarrassing, so they brought something more powerful. When they got closer, they saw someone holding up a banner with the words "Send Xiao Bao" and "Cuckoo Bears" written on it. The handwriting was not very nice. With just a glance, one could tell that the handwriting was far from good. When Li Longji saw the words, his expression darkened again. It had been 6 days. Ever since they came to shore, the common people had never given him anything. They were all given to Xiaobao, Cuckoo, Little Bei, and the others. He was the emperor. He did not believe that the common people would not give him anything when they knew that he was here. It was not that he was greedy. At the very least, he would be happy to receive a gift. Xiaobao, this isn't good. You're always accepting gifts from the common people. What do you expect the common people to do? Don't think that the common people's gifts are nothing just because you're rich. However, to the common people, these gifts are enough to last them many days. If you accept them, what are they going to eat? Li Longji could not tell the people who gave the gifts, so he told Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao knew what Li Longji was thinking. It was probably because he did not receive anything. He looked at the 2 bears in the cage and said, Your Majesty is right. A few days ago, we accepted their gifts. We arranged for people to dig a canal for them, repair their houses, and clean up the roads in the village. We also gave them candy and other things. However, they gave us too little. Last time, there were many people in the village, more than 100 households. In return, we gave them dried fruits and other things. Now that there are 2 bears, there are only 31 households in the village. It was not easy for them to catch 2 bears. If they really sold them, it would be enough for their village to live a good life for a year. Therefore, it is not enough to just repair their houses and give them dried fruits. It is not good to give them money. Your Majesty, please think of a solution. I will do it. It's not like they are giving it to me. What can I do? Whoever accepted the gifts can give me ideas. Otherwise, don't accept them. Li Longji was like a child at this moment. Yes, Your Majesty is right. We have to give them something. What should we give them? I accepted their gifts. They are really too much. Why do they have to give it to us? Give it to Your Majesty. Your Majesty will think of a good solution when the time comes. Zhang Xiaobao deliberately angered Li Longji. Empress Wang, who was beside him, came down from the pole and said to Li Longji with a smile, Your Majesty, the commoners feel that you are of noble status and have seen everything. Naturally, they look down on the gifts they gave. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are different. They are not yet in their 20s. No matter what, they are still children. Xiao Bei and the others are even more so. Think about it. The commoners must feel that you eat well in the palace, live well, and use good things. If they give you some eggs, they are looking down on your status. Can you be short of money? I'm not short of money, but Xiaobao and the others are short of money? The commoners know that I am the emperor and eat and drink well. Do you think that Xiaobao and Cuckoo have reached the point where they do not have enough to eat? Do you believe it? If the commoners really think so, I will admit that the Zhang family and the Wang family are the poorest families in the Great Tang. They are so poor that they only have money left. Li Longji said angrily. He just could not understand why the commoners did not give him anything. Xiao Bei hurriedly jumped over from the side and said to Li Longji, Uncle Emperor, I think it's because the commoners think that your status is too high, so they don't dare to give you anything. That's called tribute. Tribute is controlled by the local government. So how could the commoners dare to do so? If you don't believe me, just wait. I'll go and ask. After saying this, Xiao Bei ran over. From a few feet away, she looked at the black bear in the cage and found a boy who was 2 or 3 years older than her. She asked, Did you write this? I am Zhang Xiaobai. The boy was very strong. With one look, one could tell that he did not lack nutrition. His face was rosy, and he was wearing clothes made from the fur of an unknown animal. Just a moment ago, she was standing there like an adult with a bow hanging from her shoulder. When she saw Xiao Bei and heard Xiao Bei's voice, she immediately became bashful. Her face turned even redder. She lowered her head and softly hummed in reply. The adult beside him was anxious. Xiao Bei is talking to you. Can't you say a few words? This prodigal child could be considered the king of children in the surrounding villages. He was very capable and efficient, but now he did not know how to speak. Xiao Bei seemed to have seen this kind of thing many times and did not care. She continued to talk to the boy. Your handwriting is very good. Uncle Emperor even praised you just now. He said that it would be better if you wrote a few words for him. Do you want to write? Say something, right? I will have someone bring you the 4 treasures of the study. If you don't write, I will go back. Right. The boy's face was flushed red. He finally squeezed out a word from the gaps of his teeth. Wait, I will go back and get it. Xiao Bei turned around and ran away. She found someone and asked for something. She had someone bring a board over and grinded some ink for the boy to write. Li Longji also came over and looked at the words on the scroll. He nodded his head against his will to express his appreciation. In his heart, he was thinking that if his own child could write like this, he would have to beat them to death to vent his anger. Even Pan er learning to write her own name with a pencil was better than this. AI. It's good that he can write. It's not like he didn't know how to write in the past. I can't compare all children to the children taught by Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Li Longji thought to himself. The boy became even more nervous. His hand trembled as he held the brush. He looked at the paper and asked Xiao Bei, "Write, what should I write?" "Write whatever you want. In any case, this is for Uncle Emperor. Write whatever you think of His Majesty. Don't worry, Uncle Emperor is very kind." Xiao Bei consoled. To her, there was nothing to be afraid of. The only thing she was worried about was the disappointed expression on her brother and sister's face. However, she had never seen her brother and sister disappointed in her before. Even if she did something wrong, her brother and sister would still be very happy. The boy took a deep breath and closed his eyes to calm himself down. Only then did he manage to control his trembling hand and write on the paper. The real emperor, live a long life and never die. There was 100 in front of the 10,000 character, but the boy had drawn a slash to indicate that the character he wrote wrongly didn't count. After he finished writing, the boy raised his head and looked at Li Longji worriedly before he even put down the brush. Li Longji was stunned. He had thought about many things, but he didn't expect the boy to write these few words. He thought that the boy would write something like, "The country will last forever." If it was Xiao Yuan who wrote it, he would probably write a magnificent essay. However, these few simple words left him speechless. This is the real emperor. It's not fake, right, Uncle Emperor? Xiao Bei said to Li Longji as she blew on the paper, trying to dry the ink. That's not what I meant. What I meant was I was thinking of a good emperor. I don't know about other emperors. I haven't seen the previous emperors, but the current one is good. The boy hurriedly explained. Good words. Reward. Li Longji personally picked up the paper and blew on it. After it was dry, he carefully rolled it up and stuffed it into his clothes. To him, eggs and tigers couldn't compare to a few words written by a child. The child didn't have time to prepare and wrote whatever came to his mind. To be able to obtain the approval of a child was the best gift. Someone immediately brought over a large pile of things and placed them in front of the boy. Li Longji also began to chat with the boy, asking about his family, his studies, and so on. Zhang Xiaobao watched from afar. He turned to Wang Wan and whispered, "Do you see that? This is true glory. It's more than 2 times better than the emperor of your time. Would the commoners care whether the emperor of your time died or not? You can find a random child and ask them what they want to say to the emperor. They definitely won't say that they hope that the emperor will never die. Aren't you with me? It's different. It's an imperial system now, and we weren't one back then. Otherwise, there would be people who care about us as well." Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao. "Don't lie to yourself. If the emperor of our time died, would there be anyone to send him off on the streets? Furthermore, it was an era where one's ashes didn't even dare to write their real names. Could it be that old Zhou was the emperor of an imperial country? Of course, it's not his fault. Everyone lives for their own ideals. Some people's ideals are just to reach the top, while others want to do something for the commoners. I feel that I'm more noble in comparison." Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips. At this moment, he truly felt that Li Longji was worthy of respect. Then what do you mean by that? Wang Wan asked. What I mean is that we have to make little Li's life more comfortable in the future. If he wants to travel, we have to support him. Let alone playing in the Great Tang, even if he wants to go to South America, we have to find a way to satisfy him. We have to constantly use various methods to sing his praises. On the day he dies, we have to build a huge grave for him and write down the events of his life. For example, when he goes to a place and someone writes a piece of calligraphy for him and gives him 2 eggs. One is salty, the other is bland. This will make the future emperor feel pressured. Eggs aren't that delicious. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan sternly. However, his words were not serious. What did he mean by a huge grave? I think you're just salty. South America? Do you want to take him to the moon for a spin and feel the temperature and environment there? Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and said, That's fine too. I want to go there too. I want to bring back 2 stones and sell them for a lot of money. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were bickering, Li Longji had finished talking to the boy. He praised him a few more times and seemed very happy. He encouraged the boy to study hard so that he could do more things after learning the skills. Turning his head, Li Longji waved at Zhang Xiaobao and called him over. With a teaching look, he said, Military Commander Zhang, you have accepted other people's things. You should at least show some appreciation. I've accepted it and rewarded it. What about you? Using you to be a good person? Zhang Xiaobao muttered in his heart. However, on the surface, he said respectfully, Yes, Your Majesty, this subject understands. These 2 bears are very rare. This subject will definitely take good care of them. Right now, this subject is penniless and only has a small portion of corn. I plan to make popcorn for Patrol Inspector Zhang. Why don't I take it out and make popcorn for them? Your Majesty, what do you think? This subject is very comforted. Quickly go and get it. Li Longji ordered sternly. Yes, this subject will go and get it right away. Zhang Xiaobao went back to look for the corn. Your Majesty, we don't want any benefits. We are willing to give them to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. The boy's father said to Li Longji embarrassedly. He didn't care at all that the 2 of them were putting on a show. Who in Great Tang didn't know what was going on between the emperor, Xiaobao, and Cuckoo. Therefore, he directly called Zhang Xiaobao, and Cuckoo instead of Military Commander Zhang. It seemed too distant. Li Longji was depressed. He had put on a show for nothing. Seeing that the other party didn't seem to want it, he lowered his voice and said, How could Xiaobao give you popcorn? That thing is gone after you eat it. Xiaobao only said that he was giving you some corn seeds. You can find a place to plant them. When they mature, there will be more seeds. You can plant them yourself or sell them. They are very valuable. If Xiaobao really said that he was giving you some seeds, what would other people think? There are too few corn seeds in Great Tang. Many officials don't have any at home. If he said that he was giving popcorn, no one would say anything. Understand? When Li Longji was speaking, he didn't care about his identity as the emperor and winked at the other party. This person was stunned. Then he nodded happily and said in a low voice, Understood. Xiaobao is really smart. Thank you, Your Majesty. There's no need to thank me. After all, I am very happy that you are giving me something. Li Longji's voice was very loud. When Zhang Xiaobao, who had returned with the seeds, heard this, he knew what Li Longji meant. He reckoned that in the future, there would be commoners who would start giving Li Longji things. Too stingy, calculating with commoners. Chapter 1107. Just as Zhang Xiaobao had guessed, 2 days later, when the procession passed by another village, the villagers came to deliver things, including a gift for the emperor. 2 hens, which were still laying eggs, were held in the hands of the villagers and were cooing. Compared to the gifts given to Zhang Xiaobao and his family, the number of gifts was much less. It should be because the villagers felt that the emperor could not eat too much. So the emperor ate better food than the ones given to him. Unlike Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, the emperor was thrifty and used the money he saved to give to the people. Regarding this, Li Longji was quite satisfied. It was a little less, but it could be considered an improvement. It was better than nothing. He happily returned a bolt of silk to the villagers, which was worth enough to buy 100 hens. He ordered someone to bring 2 hens and called for Zhang Xiaobao. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, then go. I want to eat chicken stewed with mushrooms tonight. Add more potatoes." This is a hen, not a chicken. It's okay to give it to my mother. It's good for her body. Zhang Xiaobao corrected him. It's a small hen. Haven't you seen a bigger hen? Li Longji stared at him. I have. Okay, I'll cook. Don't blame me if you eat too much. The potatoes are not good potatoes. They have already sprouted. I originally planned to give them to people who need them. I'll dig up the place where they sprouted and find a nearby village to plant them. The rest of the place is for eating. Zhang Xiaobao took the 2 hens, who did not know what kind of fate they would face. After leaving these words, he turned around and cleaned up. In his heart, he was cursing. Eating chicken stewed with mushrooms on such a hot day. This is a northeastern dish, okay? Eating it in the winter is to nourish the body. If I put a ginseng in it, it will make your nose bleed. Li Longji was very knowledgeable. He called out to Zhang Xiaobao's departing figure, "Don't put anything else in it for me. I believe in your skills. I believe that the taste of the potatoes will not be bad. Torment me? Go ahead and torment me." Zhang Xiaobao continued to curse in his heart. Sprouted potatoes were not easy to cook. There was not enough flour, and the hens needed to be stewed for a long time. He could not put the potatoes together with the hens. Otherwise, the potatoes would be gone. Zhang Xiaobao could only increase the process. First, he steamed the potatoes. When the hens were almost cooked, he put the potatoes in. Hens were oily, and when cleaning them, they had to remove the oily parts. Normally, when eating in the Northeast, they would eat oily meat, just like how Russians like to eat butter to resist the cold. During dinner, Li Longji invited Empress Wang, Wu Huifei, and the 11 children to taste the fruits of his victory. When Xiao Bei saw the stew, she looked at the cool clothes she was wearing. Her eyes widened, and she turned her head to look for her brother. What she meant was, "Brother, what are you trying to do? Eat his sister to death?" And her brothers smelled the strong aroma. It was so strong that they felt disgusted. They also tried their best to hide back. Their eyes were filled with fear. Fortunately, Zhang Xiaobao was well prepared. Other than a large pot of stewed chicken, the rest were cold plates. There were also wild vegetables that he asked people to dig up. He blanched them and dipped them in bean sauce to balance the chicken. When Li Longji saw the vegetables, he also found it difficult to swallow. After hesitating for a moment, he still picked up a piece of meat and said, "Eat, it's good food. Eat all of it." After eating a mouthful, he did not want to eat a second mouthful. It was already hot and stuffy. So eating big mouthfuls of meat was a test for people. After taking another bite of the potatoes, Li Longji saw that the other people did not touch the meat in their plates. He muttered to himself, "Usually, the people here can't eat pine mushrooms, right? Why don't we share it with the people and send it over?" They did not eat much of a food in the pot. Moreover, not everyone reached out their chopsticks at the same time. They did not salivate, so it was reasonable for the emperor to give it to them. "Take it away and send it to the back. I'll cook 2 more dishes." Zhang Xiaobao already knew that the people could not eat, and they usually did not lack meat. No need. The cold dishes are the same. The main dishes you prepared are. Li Longji did not want to continue tormenting Zhang Xiaobao, so he looked at the cold plates on the table and asked for the main dishes. "Noodles with water or rice with water?" Zhang Xiaobao asked. Without waiting for the others to answer, he immediately ordered people to prepare. Soon, the rice with water was served. Only then did the little guys start to eat. When the people were eating, the bodyguards and other people also took turns to eat and rest. When the stewed food was sent to the people, it was not cold yet. The people were not giving it away, but taking the opportunity to repair the road. The road Li Longji walked on was a simple road built by the construction team in front. The quality was not up to standard. When the main team passed by, the road behind them was trampled until it was uneven. Some of the teams at the back were in charge of filling the holes. The people were also helping at the back. They found stones to press down the road. Even if it was a simple road, they could not build it themselves. Now that the road was solid, they were not afraid even if it was raining. At most, they would just fill in some places with stones. In the future, even if the others did not build the road for them, they could always use it themselves. Under the premise that they did not need to use the national treasury and the money of the local people, it was not a bad thing for the emperor to go on an inspection tour. After dinner, Zhang Xiaobao, who was guarding the ice basin and planning to discuss matters with Wang Wan, received a message from Hangzhou. It was a message from his mother, the Jiang Wang clan. The message seemed ordinary. It only asked about the children's journey and how their father was doing. However, Zhang Xiaobao understood what his mother was trying to say when he read the last part of the message. The last sentence was that when they arrived at Luzhou, he should help them greet the people of Luzhou. It would be best if he could draw the scenery and bring it back to look at. "Wife, I have something to tell you." Zhang Xiaobao put down the message and said to Wang Wan, who was looking at him. Wang Wan did not listen to Zhang Xiaobao. She snatched the paper and quickly skimmed through it. Then she said, "You don't have to say anything. My mother and your mother want to go to Luzhou. If they want to go, just go. Why do you have to ask? Who can control them? I guess they're afraid of affecting us. Apart from parents who abuse their children and even kill them, all parents in the world are the same. I don't mean if they want to go or not. I mean how they want to go." Zhang Xiaobao tapped his face with his finger. Wang Wan had not seen Zhang Xiaobao do this for a long time. Only when he was scheming against others would Zhang Xiaobao do this habitual action. "What are you trying to do? Our mothers are going to Luzhou. Are you going to scheme against them too?" "I'm not scheming against them. I'm scheming against others. Think about it. Our mother can't travel by land like us. She has to take a boat. It's faster and more stable than the current road conditions." However, Wang Wan did not give Zhang Xiaobao a chance to show off. She asked directly, "Don't just come and go like that. If you have something to say, say it. Let's take a boat. What are you going to do?" Zhang Xiaobao choked on his words. He cleared his throat and said, "I'm not going to use them. I'm going to protect them. Our mother and the others are going to take a boat. No matter how stable it is, there's a possibility that something might go wrong. I won't be at ease if I don't send someone to protect them." Wang Wan did not say anything. She lowered her head and continued reading the information on the paper. She seemed to be studying her mother-in-law's ability to organize her words. At the very least, she was better than her mother. If her mother was the one who told her the news, she would have directly mentioned Luzhou. She would not have been tactful enough. Zhang Xiaobao waited for a while. When he saw Wang Wan was not cooperating with him, he had no choice but to continue. "Speaking of protection, how can I just tell you how many people I'm going to send? It doesn't make a difference whether I tell you or not, right?" Wang Wan read the information again. Zhang Xiaobao said, "So, I've come up with an idea. Take a guess." "What a bad idea. Are you going to tell me or not?" "If you're not going to tell me, I'm going to sleep. I'm sleepy." Wang Wan yawned. "My idea is to send a group of people from other places. Take a guess." "Forget it. There's no need for you to guess. I'm going to ask Luzhou to deploy a fleet of gunboats to meet them. Our mother can't go to Luzhou empty-handed. We should prepare more gifts, such as rice and noodles, from other places and other local specialties. Therefore, a large number of resources have to be gathered at Jiangnan's east as soon as possible. Our logistics department has to be mobilized as well. We have to be fast. Otherwise, by the time we reach Luzhou, my mother and your mother will still be in Hangzhou. We might as well not go there, right?" When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan did not have a tacit understanding with him, or rather, she knew him too well, He could only think of ways to attract her with his words. He wanted to show his cleverness in front of his wife. Wang Wan finally played along. She asked, "Is there anything else?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaobao nodded happily. "Lu Zhou, I think we need things from Jiangxi Province, Lingnan Province, and Northern Hebei Province the most. It'll take too long to transport from the other two places. Northern Hebei Province is directly connected to the sea. What do you think of transporting things from there?" Zhang Xiaobao acted as though he was concerned about Lu Zhou as he asked for his opinion. Wang Wan and Wei Wei smiled. "All right. What do you think we can give them in the northeast? Ginseng? Mink fur? Woolly grass? Deer antler? Are you worried that Lu Zhou's people will be cold? The cold wind in summer is bone-chilling. Should we send them tonics? Why don't you make chicken stew with mushrooms for them? I'm sure they'll be very happy." Zhang Xiaobao was surprised. "They'll be happy. After all, I made it myself. You said not to send them anything for the time being. There are hazelnuts and pine nuts in the northeast. We picked a lot of them last year. Although it's not the season yet, we can send people to pick them up. Maybe we'll be surprised. The local people are busy now, and it's not good to ask them to work. Let's send the army. The local army has been training. What do you think of transferring troops from Yu Province in the southern part of Hebei Province? What do you think? Gather some large transport ships in Hunan Province and prepare some goods. When the time comes, we can ship them together. Maybe we can earn back the money we spent. Also, tell the Japanese that we won't borrow the steam engine-armed ships we rented to them for the time being. They can help protect the transport team at sea. What do you think?" Wang Wan finally heard something wrong in Zhang Xiaobao's words. She asked in surprise, "Do you really plan to do that? Do you want to transfer tens of thousands of soldiers from Tubo's army to Hunan Province, which is Shandong Province, and say that it's a cross-regional joint training exercise? Don't do that. I really plan to help Mother travel and give Lu Zhou some benefits. Don't get me wrong," Zhang Xiaobao said seriously. "I don't believe you. I didn't get you wrong, but you want to make others misunderstand. You want to kill two birds with one stone, don't you? No wonder you did that little trick just now. It turns out that you want to take advantage of our mother's trip. If my mother knows about it, she'll definitely hate you. What kind of son-in-law are you talking about?" Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. "Where can you find a son-in-law like me? Don't be in a hurry to criticize me. Help me perfect it. Come on, when you go to bed later, I'll tell you the story of the wolf and the lamb." Zhang Xiaobao said without blushing. Chapter 1108. The next morning, after breakfast, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came to discuss this matter with Li Longji. Wang Wan was not in charge of using Yozhou's soldiers. In theory, she was only in charge of her own servants and the soldiers of Bohai Ci's Commander-in-Chief's office. She and Zhang Xiaobao were still regional commanders. As for the soldiers of other places, although they would not dare to disobey her if she wanted to mobilize them, there was something wrong with the procedure. "You want me to mobilize Yozhou's soldiers to gather hazelnuts and pine nuts? Then you want me to send them to Lu Zhou as gifts? Let me confirm. Is that what you mean?" Li Longji was confused when he heard Zhang Xiaobao's words. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao in surprise, trying to see if he was sick. Zhang Xiaobao smiled honestly and nodded. "Yes, that's right. Did your Majesty agree?" Li Longji assessed Zhang Xiaobao once more before continuing. "Xiaobao, I won't say anything about your use of the army, but if it's really useful, feel free to use the soldiers of Great Tang. Even if it's my Chamberlain of Imperial Insignia, feel free to mobilize them at critical moments. However, don't you think your reason is a little too far-fetched? You're the regional commander there, but you don't use your own soldiers and insist on mobilizing Yozhou's soldiers? You even want to gather pine nuts? Do you think you're joking with Xiaobei? No, my soldiers are still training. Some are training in mountain warfare, some are training in naval warfare, and some are training in building fortifications. I can't spare any manpower, so I asked my brothers to help. I don't need too many, just 20,000 people will be enough. Just think of it as providing training for my brothers. They don't need to bring too many things. They just need to prepare their rations and weapons. It can be said that they're traveling light. When the time comes, I'll reimburse them for their rations. Zhang Xiaobao said as he gestured as if he was carrying a military backpack on his back. He meant that it would take less than 1 month for them to arrive at his place from Yuzhou province, without weapons and only food. Li Longji didn't immediately tell Zhang Xiaobao whether he agreed or not. Instead, he looked at Wang Wan, who was sitting beside Zhang Xiaobao. He saw Wang Wan sitting there like a soldier. But why did he look like he was trying not to laugh? Li Longji gently rubbed his temples to make sure that he wasn't hallucinating. Only then did he look at Wang Ju, who had also finished her meal and came over to chat. Ju, do you know about pine nuts and hazelnuts? I know. The Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion in the north of Hebei province has good pine nuts. After last autumn, before the new year, Xiaobao's family sent me a lot of pine nuts. I remember that there was a carriage with 2 horses. My family members and maids were tired of eating them. My tongue hurt after eating too much. Wang Ju recalled for a while and revealed a satisfied expression when talking about last year. Although they weren't as close as now, the Zhang family didn't lack etiquette. Moreover, not everyone could eat pine nuts in the north of Hebei province. Before her grandson went there, she only got a little bit each year as a tribute. It was not that the yield was low, but that the imperial court used to have poor control over that area. It was full of tribes and tribes. Besides, the road was difficult and there were many wild animals. Therefore, she couldn't get more pine nuts. Now, there were not many mountain goods and pine nuts coming out of that area each year, which were almost sky-high in price. Thinking about it, a satisfied smile appeared on Wang Ju's face. Li Longji gently shook his head again as he looked at Wang Ju and asked, "Do you know why pine nuts and hazelnuts have been less in spring?" "Ah, less? Oh, they're only harvested in autumn. Don't you know, Your Majesty?" Wang Ju seemed to have thought of something, but she did not say it out loud. "I'm smarter than you. They're only harvested in autumn. What's the point of sending soldiers there now? 20,000 soldiers to cut down pine trees, transport them to Luzhou, and plant them at the seaside. When autumn comes, we'll show the children of Luzhou how pine nuts grow." Li Longji glared at Zhang Xiaobao as he spoke to Wang Ju. Wang Ju hastily chimed in, "You're right, Your Majesty. It's not the right time to cut down trees. Even if we cut them down and plant them at the seaside, I don't think they'll fit in with the local customs. Think about it, Your Majesty. There are coconuts, the coffee that cuckoo used to plant, and kapok there. If we plant a bunch of pine trees at the seaside, people will be puzzled and confused. Moreover, it's hot there, and there's a lot of oil on the pine trees. The oil will keep flowing down, right? Have you become stupid as well?" Li Longji said as he looked at Wang Ju. Then he was amused. Perhaps he was angered. "You're saying the same thing when I'm talking about pine trees? Can the pine trees survive there? What I'm asking is, if the season isn't right, why are they harvesting pine nuts? They're even mobilizing soldiers from Yuzhou. Are they rebelling? Tell me, are you and Cuckoo rebelling?" Li Longji asked Zhang Xiaobao again. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head solemnly. "No, we're not rebelling. Your Majesty, you don't know this. Although the season isn't right now, there are pine nuts on the ground that weren't eaten by the squirrels last year. If we go there and pick them up, we can still eat them." "Oh." Li Longji stared at Zhang Xiaobao and pretended to be enlightened. He chuckled and said, "Good, it's good that you're not rebelling. Go ahead, I agree. You'll be in charge of the money for the provisions. Let them pick up more pine nuts. I'll also taste the pine nuts that fall on the ground." "Thank you, Your Majesty. This subject estimates that the taste is not much different from the ones that didn't fall from the trees. Even if they're contaminated with the Earth's air, we might be able to pick 1,000-year-old ginseng and send it to Your Majesty." Zhang Xiaobao replied with a smile. "Okay, we will wait. 20,000 people. We'll just treat it as training. Let's set out. We have to travel a bit more today. Based on the census distribution of the Great Tang, it will be 2 days before we see any signs of human habitation. The earlier we see people, the earlier we can ask about the local situation. Li Longji narrowed his eyes and spoke as if he really supported the idea of picking up pine nuts. Wang Ju was confused. Why were the emperor and his subject speaking like this? One found a very lame excuse, while the other supported the idea despite knowing that it was wrong. Were they both sick? Either they were sick or they were sick. If they were sick enough to need an injection, they would need an intravenous drip. Otherwise, they might see some celestial being crashing down from the sky. Anything was possible. With Li Longji's order to go, the entire group began to slowly move, and then they began to pick up speed. Li Longji sat on the pole, a leisurely expression on his face. It was as if he was no longer worried about the complaints of the Yuzhou soldiers. Other than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the others were also carried away. Without the common people, they wouldn't get down and walk. After walking for an hour, Empress Wang heard someone mention this matter. She called Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan over and asked them to walk beside her. She turned around and asked, Xiaobao, what are you and Cuckoo playing at? You're actually mobilizing soldiers for no reason. Although this isn't the era of feudal vassals, you can't let the Yuzhou soldiers think that you're playing with fire beacons. Morale is important, so you should at least tell them what you're planning. Before Zhang Xiaobao could reply, Li Longji said, there's no need to ask. If they want to play with the feudal vassals, then let them. Let alone mobilizing 20,000 soldiers. Even if they ordered the entire Great Tang's beacon towers to be lit, we would still agree. What's the big deal about picking up pine nuts? Even if they transferred the soldiers of Gongji province to Lingnan province and asked them to build snowmen, we wouldn't refuse. What's there to be afraid of? As Li Longji spoke, he even raised his chin at Zhang Xiaobao, clearly implying that if I don't ask you, you think I'll be curious. I'll just take your words for real. Zhang Xiaobao raised his thumb to show that you're awesome, and Li Longji raised his chin even higher. Seeing the appearance of the two, Empress Wang shook her head helplessly. Then she turned to Wang Wan and said, Cuckoo, tell your mother what's going on. She was Wang Wan's adoptive mother, but she had never mentioned the word "e." Wang Wan smiled and replied, it's nothing much. We're just letting them wander around. There are a few places in the mountains where there are many wild beasts, and it wasn't easy for a small group of people to gather there. A few days ago, we asked our local troops to clean up the wild beasts so that they could live a peaceful life. After our troops went there, we drove away and cleaned up a portion of the wild beasts, but to us it wasn't very useful. It was better to train the troops and waste time. Yuzhou is relatively close to our area, and it's also very important. The local soldiers there have already lost a lot of killing. Since we can't use people to train the troops, we'll have them go further north. One is to help the local soldiers hunt wild beasts, and the other is to train their physical strength. At the same time, they can find problems during the march and correct them in time. After Xiao Bao and I set out, there might be some empty areas in our army, and the troops in the various regions will have to enter a state of combat readiness. Wang Wan didn't say anything about picking pine nuts. Unless it was to deceive people who didn't have common sense, this was something that she had considered when she helped Zhang Xiaobao fill in the blanks last night. She wanted to make use of this opportunity to mobilize the soldiers of Great Tang and try to familiarize them with the surroundings. In the future, if the two of them were to go out and someone wanted to cause trouble, they would be able to send soldiers from the vicinity. The more familiar the nearby soldiers were with the surroundings, the more advantageous it would be for the battle. Empress Wang nodded. Although she still had doubts in her heart, she didn't ask anymore. Instead, she signaled for Wang Wan to sit on the pole she was sitting on. Wang Wan looked at the person who lifted the pole and shook her head. Then she walked nearby and talked about other things. Zhang Xiaobao still had things to do, and he didn't want to listen to his wife and Empress Wang talk about clothes. Thus, he walked to Li Longji's side and followed them. He also had a pole to sit on, but he had never sat on one before. It was tiring to be carried by others, but he didn't need to. His walking speed wasn't fast either, so he took it as a form of training. Walking beside Li Longji, Zhang Xiaobao didn't idle around. Occasionally, he would see some plants by the side of the road, and he would run over to dig them up or pluck them. Then he would return to Li Longji's side and introduce the characteristics and uses of those plants to him. He even caught a hedgehog and explained the differences between the hedgehog's ear and those in the capital to Li Longji. Then he got someone to give it to his younger brothers and sisters who were sleeping on the poles after eating. He spoke for a full 2 hours, and there wasn't a single repetition. It was as though Zhang Xiaobao could continue talking for several days and nights. Li Longji was worried about the purpose of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's mobilization of troops, but he endured it and listened to Zhang Xiaobao's incessant explanation. He also put on a curious expression and cooperated. He really didn't know much about the things that they passed by. He only knew a little about the things that could be used as tributes. Are you thirsty? Do you need me to send people to Tubo to get you some snow water from the snowy mountains? You can use it to make tea. I can transfer 50,000 people over to help you deliver the tea. What do you think? Li Longji listened to Zhang Xiaobao's incessant explanation and pointed to the northwest as he joked. Zhang Xiaobao spat out a piece of grass that had a sour taste in his mouth and replied, "We can't go to Tubo. Tubo's soldiers are still used to scare people. Not to mention the long journey here. People will think that we are afraid. Since Your Majesty mentioned the mobilization of troops, I have an idea. There are oranges in Shannon East Circuit that were plucked last autumn. They've been preserved using a special method, and they haven't gone bad even now. Why don't we transport more and send them to Huainan East Circuit? We'll send about 10,000 soldiers there. When the time comes, we'll send them to Luzhou as well." Luzhou doesn't have oranges? Can't we just transport them from Huainan East Circuit? Luzhou doesn't lack fruits. 10,000 soldiers? Send oranges? All right, I agree. Li Longji asked a few more times, but he did not say anything else. He nodded and agreed. He was letting Zhang Xiaobao do whatever he wanted. After all, Zhang Xiaobao would not rebel. Zhang Xiaobao was still finding excuses for himself. He said oranges from different places taste different. For example, the oranges from Hunan Circuit are sweet, and the oranges from Jiangnan East Circuit are sweet. Isn't that obvious? I've learned something new. As it turns out, the ancients were wrong when they said that Huainan was the orange and Huaibei was the orange. The oranges from the north are sweeter than the oranges from the south? I'll have someone write this in the school books so the children can understand it. Is there anything else? Go on, I'll definitely agree. Li Longji chuckled as he played along with Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao smiled as well. It's true, Your Majesty. Indeed, there's something else I need to do. To be honest, the reason I've asked someone to send the items to Luzhou is because I received a message from my mother last night. She wants to go to Luzhou. I've thought about it and decided that it's not good to go empty-handed. Hence, I'll have to bring more things for Luzhou. It doesn't matter how expensive the items are, they're just a token of our sincerity. At the same time, to ensure my mother's safety, Luzhou's fleet has been stationed there to guard against her. I'll have to mobilize more of my family's logistics to transport the items to the seaside. I don't have a choice. Time is tight. My mother has to be there by the time we reach Luzhou. Otherwise, I'll be worried. Do you understand, Your Majesty? Oh, Li Longji's interest was piqued. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "You're saying that you and Cuckoo are going to mobilize a lot of people to prepare the items for Luzhou? All of them are going to move quickly to the seaside? In fact, they're going to include the various armies as well?" That's right. Some of the people are busy farming, and some are busy working. If we let the people work, it'll cost us more. Moreover, we'll be delaying their work. Since the soldiers have nothing to do, they'll just take it as a form of exercise. Just like what I'm doing now. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at his legs. What he meant was, "You're sitting while I'm walking. It's been almost 4 hours. Shouldn't you slow down?" I still have to cook lunch for you. Li Longji clearly did not care if Zhang Xiaobao was tired or not. He turned away and closed his eyes to think for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, he said to Zhang Xiaobao, "You're a good person." It's no wonder Lu Zhou only knows about the Zhang family and the Wang family. As it turns out, stop, you can't say that. The people of Lu Zhou know about your majesty. Moreover, they always praise your majesty. You can't accuse me of being disloyal. If this was in the past, I would have had my family confiscated and exterminated. Zhang Xiaobao interrupted Li Longji's words and grumbled. Now, it's also a crime of confiscation and extermination. You and one are putting on a show to tell the Japanese that you're going to beat them up. You're going to confiscate their homes and exterminate their families. Li Longji said with a chuckle. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and denied, "No, there's absolutely no such thing. I'm just sending gifts to Lu Zhou and tormenting the soldiers of my dynasty. If we attack Japan, I have to withdraw our people from Japan first. Otherwise, if we attack them, they will kill our people as soon as they see that we're fighting. Who can I complain to then? Oh, right, I've discussed with Cuckoo yesterday. We'll temporarily stop the ships we're leasing to Japan as long as we can contact them. We're willing to pay compensation for the breach of contract. For the sake of my mother, money is a small matter." "All right, I understand. You continue to torment them. In order not to let the Japanese misunderstand, it's best if you contact them first. Tell them that you really sent people to the Commander-in-Chief's office in Bohai Sea to pick pine nuts, and that the fleet was really there to protect my mother. Tell them that I'm not going to attack them. I'm busy with my own business, and you can continue with your own business. For example, I believe that the Japanese will definitely believe you." Li Longji had a wicked smile on his face. He no longer had the usual solemnity of an emperor. He cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao, and the more he spoke, the happier he became. Zhang Xiaobao also had a wicked smile on his face. He chuckled at the same time as Li Longji, causing Empress Wang, who was standing at the side, to be very surprised. The speed and amplitude of the carriage carrying Li Longji were obviously different from before. The 4 golden guards carrying Li Longji lowered their heads and looked at the road, as though they did not hear Zhang Xiaobao and Li Longji talking. "Hee, if I don't hit them, they will definitely believe me. Hee, is there anything else?" Li Longji laughed wretchedly. With a straight face, he asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. He opened his mouth and shook his head. "No, I'm just helping my mother. Even if the Japanese believe you and don't hit them, I don't believe that you don't have a backup plan. You're going to cook lunch. I want to eat an all-fish banquet. 48 fresh saltwater fishes, not one less. The saltwater fishes in the mountains are even more delicious." Li Longji reverted to his emperor appearance and ordered Zhang Xiaobao, "Your Majesty, how can you bully a child like this? Unless it's a celestial mountain and the weather is hot, you can just eat a few cool dishes for lunch. Xiaobao, tell me quickly, don't let His Majesty bully you." Empress Wang advised when she heard Li Longji's voice. "Why don't we send someone to buy saltwater fishes there? Apart from the saltwater fishes, the local specialties are quite good as well. We'll ship them back and leave them in Lu Zhou's hands. When we return to the capital, we'll ship them to the capital and sell them there. We've spent a lot of money on this trip. If we can make up for it, it's better than nothing. Moreover, the lives of the people there aren't easy. Send a report and ask Lu Zhou to send someone to discuss the construction of a smelting factory there. We'll help them if we can." Zhang Xiaobao pointed in the southwest direction as he spoke to Empress Wang. In truth, he was speaking to Li Longji. Li Longji nodded in satisfaction and said, "I'm relieved to hear Xiaobao's words. Our neighbor is in trouble, and we can't not help it. I agree. I won't eat saltwater fishes for lunch. Is there anything else?" "Yes, there's nothing else," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "Nothing else? If there's nothing else, I want to eat the specialties of the Southwest for lunch. There are 48 dishes. I want to eat them." Li Longji suppressed his laughter and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Your Majesty, you have to be reasonable. You can't do this." Zhang Xiaobao was happy to tease Li Longji as well. Reasonable? Have you ever seen an emperor being reasonable? As the saying goes, if the emperor wants his subject to die, the subject has no choice but to die. How can there be such a saying? Li Longji said. Wei Wei swayed her body. She looked as though she was saying, "What can you do about it?" As the saying goes, is that a saying? Zhang Xiaobao inwardly criticized Li Longji for being uncultured. Then he said, "Your Majesty, if you want to eat the specialties of the Southwest, it's simple. When we're helping them, we'll buy them from the Japanese. The Japanese have boats that go out to sea to catch fish in the Southwest. We'll buy them back while we're at it. The sea route isn't too far away. The Japanese can row their boats diligently. Moreover, they have the help of our first-generation steam engine boats. We'll help them transport the people who buy the things over. After they're done, they can just board the boats and come back." Li Longji nodded and said, "That's right. We won't eat their food for lunch. You can just make 2 dishes. Is there anything else? Is that really it? Why don't you eat mine for lunch? I think my meat tastes good." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. He had a look on his face that said, "I won't say anything even if you beat me to death. Forget it. That's all for now. We'll talk about dinner later. I need to think about it. Who knows, I might be able to figure out on my own." Li Longji felt that he could not ask everything. If he did, he would seem too stupid. It was better for him to follow Xiaobao and Cuckoo's train of thought. If he could figure it out, it would be his own ability. Li Longji and the others had a pleasant journey. Moreover, they could joke and joke along the way. They also ate the local specialties and wild game that they passed by. They were gradually getting closer to Luzhou. However, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came up with the idea of helping their mother's safety and bringing something to Luzhou, some of them were displeased. Takeshita Junichiro had been keeping an eye on his country's plan to work with several other countries to secretly sabotage Tang. He was aware of this plan from the very beginning. However, when he wanted to participate, the other party did not allow him to do so. They said that he had always failed and had never succeeded in scheming against Tang. When the dissatisfied Takeshita Junichiro found out about this plan, he suddenly had a strange thought. Without him, the plan would fail in the end. Moreover, everyone involved in the plan would not be able to escape. All of them would be captured. Sometimes, he would even dream of everyone being captured. Occasionally, he would wake up with a start. However, he regretted having such thoughts. No matter what, if the plan succeeded, it would be a huge blow to Tang. However, it was not that Tang would lose a lot of money. Even if they poured something into a river or a lake, it would only cause the things in that place to die. It would be difficult for them to harm anyone. In the worst case, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could just move the things in their homes and deliver them to the places that suffered losses. Even if it was drinking water, the two of them could bring it in basins from other places. It was as though there was nothing in the world that could stop them. The real blow to Tang would come from the hearts of the people. They would have to let the people know that Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who had never failed and never made mistakes, had their moments of weakness as well. This would cause the people of Tang to no longer respect the two of them, as they did in the past. At the same time, if the plan succeeded, it would give the people of his country and the other countries a boost of confidence. In the future, when the country made decisions against Tang, the people would support them. Hence, the ultimate goal of this plan was to break Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's invincibility. Thus, he should support them. Since they were not allowed to participate, it was not a bad idea to help them in secret. With this thought in mind, Takeshita Junichiro really did carry out his plan. He arranged for many people under his command to go to Hangzhou, intending to lend a hand when needed. However, just as he arrived in Hangzhou with his people, he heard that his people had been captured. Moreover, the news spread so widely that almost all of Hangzhou knew about it. Just as he was hesitating whether he should find a chance to save them, he heard that someone had been captured at the reed marsh in the lake next to Douchang. Not long after, the people from the Lushan Alliance were also captured. All of their arrangements had just taken a small step, and before they could achieve more, they were all cut short. When Takeshita Junichiro received the news, he finally stopped thinking about saving people. He knew that if he went to save them, he would definitely be captured as well. Perhaps Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were waiting for someone to save them. Takeshita Junichiro also felt that he had lost in the past, not because he was not capable enough, but because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were too powerful. From the news he heard, he understood more or less. The main thing was that this news was deliberately spread by Zhang Xiaobao. His purpose was to let the intelligence personnel of other countries know about it, so that their confidence would be damaged. Takeshita Junichiro was obviously shocked. He really could not understand how Zhang Xiaobao could find a loophole in such a good security system. Moreover, he could follow them and listen to the storyteller talk about it. However, when he heard it, it felt like a dream. Zhang Xiaobao was almost a god. However, the truth was that if Zhang Xiaobao was not capable enough, he definitely would not have been able to capture them. Takeshita Junichiro sighed. At the same time, he felt that if he could find a chance to kill Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, even if he had to sacrifice 1,000 or 10,000 people and use up several years of Japan's income, he would definitely do it. Otherwise, if the two of them were left in Great Tang, who knew what they could do? However, it was too difficult to kill the two of them. When they personally took action, they would disguise themselves so that no one could recognize them. When they stopped disguising themselves, they were followed by thousands of guards. Moreover, there were people secretly in charge of protecting them. Taking their lives under these layers of protection was harder than ascending to the heavens. If he had known that the two of them would be so capable today, he would have sent people to Sanshui County when they were still children and directly slaughtered the two of them in Zhuangzi. Although at that time, according to the current investigation, their families also had many defensive measures, they did not have many people. Moreover, they did not have the current weapons at that time. Killing the two of them when they were young was 100 times, no 1,000 times, 10,000 times easier than killing them now. If only there was a medicine in the world. Takeshita Junichiro changed his name and dressed like a person from Great Tang. Moreover, he had been in Great Tang for several years, so no one could tell what his habits were. While he was feeling sad, he also avoided the people who were still patrolling in Hangzhou. Of course, he was not stupid enough to hide in the restaurant between the clouds and the water. It was not that he did not have money. He had enough money to eat and live there. Not long after the New Year, someone in China sent him a lot of goods and asked him to sell them. The money from selling them was also his responsibility. He was afraid. He always felt that if he acted like ordinary people, the most dangerous place was the safest place. If he ran to between the clouds and the water and stayed there, he would definitely be caught. Hangzhou was not a place where people from other countries who had not committed crimes in the Great Tang would not be caught. If someone from another country was caught in Hangzhou, even if they did not die, they would at least lose a layer of skin. After enduring several days of fear, Takeshita Junichiro made his decision. He boarded a passenger ship and sailed against the current, intending to go to Xuanyang and see the situation. He thought that if he went there later, he would not be suspected of anything. But when he arrived at Xuanyang, Takeshita Junichiro realized that what he had heard about Xuanyang being in chaos had nothing to do with what he was seeing now. Xuanyang was in chaos, but it was not a riot. It was the kind of chaos that came when people were busy. Many people were coming and going, and all of them had smiles on their faces. Nothing bad had happened. The feeling it gave was that it was thriving. Takeshita Junichiro muttered, "Could this be another skill of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? If this were his own country, and a place like Xuanyang was in a similar situation, it would take at least 1 or 2 years for it to recover. Moreover, it hadn't even been half a month yet. Seeing this person bustling about, he seemed to give off an even more ambitious feeling than Xuanyang had in the past. He had understood this from the intelligence reports he had gathered, and he had personally experienced it once. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not care about anything happening in the Great Tang. Whenever there was a man-made or heaven-sent disaster, the two of them would be able to resolve it in a very short amount of time. At the same time, what was even more shocking was that after each disaster, the situation in that place would be better than before the disaster. It had always been a heaven-defying battle, and the stronger the opponent, the stronger the opponent. With this helpless thought, Takeshita Junichiro decided to take a good look at Xuanyang and stay a few days to understand how they had changed so that he could send this information back to his country so that his country could learn from them. However, Takeshita Junichiro did not dare to stay any longer. He had his own communication system. First, he received a secret message from the north. It was said that Serene Province had mobilized 20,000 troops and was moving northeast. Their destination was Jili Province, but they were marching at the fastest speed in the name of picking pine nuts there. How was that possible? Where were the pine nuts to pick now? Even if they were going to pick them, why would they mobilize 20,000 troops? Even if they mobilized the troops, would the original troops of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan not be enough? Who were they kidding? Just when Takeshita Junichiro felt that something was amiss and that they were targeting his country, he received a secret message from Lu Zhou's people. It was said that one of Lu Zhou's fleet of gunships and a conventional fleet that had been docked at the port had been mobilized. According to the information they gathered, the two fleets' destination was Hangzhou. To be more precise, they were on the coastal road to Hangzhou. The madam of the Zhang family and the Wang family wanted to take a ship from Hangzhou to Lu Zhou. Hence, the two fleets were tasked to protect her. Nobody believed that the two damned women who gave birth to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would have fewer guards around them. If that were the case, they would have been killed by the people who worked together. Was there a need to mobilize two fleets? If they were here to protect her, why were the gunships deployed? Who did not know that Lu Zhou's navy was the most elite force in Great Tang? Perhaps they were here to attack their own country. While Takeshita Junichiro was feeling fearful, he received news from other places. It was said that tangerines were being sent to Huainan by the army from the east to Shannon. Then they would be transported to the coast and loaded onto ships. They would follow the madam of the Zhang family to Lu Zhou so that Lu Zhou's people could taste them. Most of the logistics teams of the Zhang family and the Wang family began to gather. Those who were close to Hangzhou were moving toward Hangzhou, while those who were close to Huainan were moving toward Lu Zhou. Hot air balloons filled the skies as well. It was said that they were rushing to deliver the goods from the inland as quickly as possible. The armies of the various regions also followed suit, constantly switching out their positions. With so much information gathered, Takeshita Junichiro was frightened out of his wits. Huainan Circuit and Lu Zhou did not have tangerines? How many things did Lu Zhou lack? Did he need so many people from the logistics teams of the Zhang family and the Wang family? The hot air balloons and the armies were deployed as well. Everything pointed to his own country, Japan. Yamamoto, you're the one who deserves to die the most. Look at what you've gotten yourself into. You didn't do a good job of causing trouble, and now they found out. Now, they're going to start a war. They're not going to attack Duosher anymore. They're going to attack our country instead. Takeshita Junichiro grumbled in pain. He opened all the windows in his room, but he still found it difficult to breathe. 2 hours later, Takeshita Junichiro mustered the strength to stand up and take a cold shower. He changed into a set of short clothes, pocketed the money, and walked out of his room. When he arrived at the lakeside, he found a boat that seemed fast. He tossed 10 strings of cash and ordered the boatman to row toward the other side of the lake as quickly as possible. The faster they rowed, the more money they would be given when the time came. When the boatman ordered a few people to row the boat, Takeshita Junichiro, who had spent money to buy medicine, took it. He sat at the bow of the boat and looked at the blue sky and blue water. He thought to himself that he had to catch up to Zhang Xiaobao and the others as soon as possible. Then he would apologize to them and give them all the hundreds of thousands of strings of cash. He hoped that they would give his country a chance. Chapter 1109. Disregarding his illness and the length of the journey, Takeshita Junichiro traveled at his fastest speed. After reaching the shore from the boat, he spent 50 strings of coins to buy 2 mountain horses from a farmer in the village. If he were to go to the horse market, the 2 mountain horses that were usually used to transport goods and farming didn't cost 50 strings of coins. However, the farmer didn't want to sell them. It was clear that he wanted to raise the 2 horses as his own children. Helpless, Takeshita Junichiro could only agree to lend the 2 horses. He used 50 strings of coins as a deposit. After returning, he left 10 strings of coins for the farmer's children to buy fodder. The farmer thought that 50 strings of coins could buy 4 horses and thought that the other party would return the horses. So he lent the horses. Takeshita Junichiro had no intention of returning the horses at all. Compared to the stability of the country, what was a few strings of coins? Riding on the horse, Takeshita Junichiro continued to chase. Fortunately, the road wasn't as difficult as before. Even when he reached the hillside, there was still a paved road in front of him that extended into the distance. At the same time, there was no need to worry about being attacked by wild beasts. All the wild beasts within a dozen li of each side of the road had been cleared by the group in front. Not to mention tigers and wolves, not even a single pheasant was left. They were all hunted and eaten. As such, Takeshita Junichiro chased for 7 days and finally saw the tail of the group in front of him. When he saw the tail of the group, he was also discovered and stopped by the group. The people in the group who stopped him couldn't tell that he was Japanese. After all, he had stayed in Great Tang for many years. His attire and expression were no different from the people of Great Tang. Even if he had some Japanese characteristics, they couldn't immediately tell. Even in Great Tang, the people of different places were different. The people who stopped him thought that he was someone from a village and rushed over. Seeing his travel-worn appearance, they wanted to help him and let him rest first. They could talk about it slowly. However, when they heard that he was Japanese, the expressions of the people who stopped him changed instantly. Their original concern and gentleness turned into coldness and hostility. Their gazes were filled with hostility. Seeing the other party's expression, Takeshita Junichiro grew even more nervous. He knew that many parts of the Great Tang were beginning to distance themselves from the people of his country. Based on the information he had obtained in Shenyang, many of the Japanese who had come to the Great Tang did not dare to casually reveal their identities. The moment someone found out that they were Japanese, although they had not yet been attacked, they would be in danger. There was no place to eat. For example, there were 2 Japanese who used to live in Chuzhou City. Their neighbors knew that they were Japanese, so they got along well with them. In the end, after such a thing happened, the neighbors began to alienate them and did not speak to them at all. Furthermore, they did not know which one of them leaked their identities. The 2 Japanese were hungry on the streets and wanted to eat something in a small shop. However, as soon as they entered, they were chased out. They wanted to drink a cup of tea, but the stall owner refused to sell it. One by one, everyone in the surrounding area knew that the 2 of them were Japanese. Whenever they wanted to buy something, no one would sell it to them. Whenever they wanted to find work, no one would take it. Even if they wanted to pawn their belongings to raise money for travel expenses, the pawnbroker would not take it. When the 2 of them discovered this situation, they could only cook the remaining food at home and take it with them to leave this sad place. They wanted to find a new place and hide their identities so that they could survive. Otherwise, they would starve to death. Thus, it was normal for them to be treated coldly by others. Thus, Takeshita Junichiro could only say that he was the person in charge of this matter from Japan. He wanted to explain to the emperor what had happened. At the same time, he wanted to help some people hide the truth from the emperor of Pingsheng and condemn his actions that had harmed the relationship between the Great Tang and Japan. Brothers, let me go and see His Majesty. We really did not know the situation. We only found out later that our country absolutely did not support Yamamoto's actions. If we had known, we would have stopped them in advance and given me a chance. Takeshita Junichiro begged the people who had stopped him. Of course, the people who had stopped him would not believe his words. How could the Japanese not know about the things that were used to cause destruction? The majority of Japan's goods were dependent on the Great Tang. How could the Japanese not know how much each item was sold for and how many items were exchanged for? It's just a word. Is His Majesty someone you can meet just because you want to? If you don't meet him, I'll give you a piece of advice. You should quickly find a chance to return to your country. Don't stay in the Great Tang any longer. In a few days, our people will get angry, and it might harm you. The person who had stopped him did not give him a chance to meet the emperor and even threatened him. Takeshita Junichiro was anxious. He thought that if he could not meet the emperor this time and explain things clearly, he would not have another chance in the future. Perhaps by the time he returned to his country, the Great Tang's valiant soldiers would have already landed. Those were gunships. Once the cannons fired, who on the shore would be able to stop them? It was all those people's fault for provoking him. What about now? The Great Tang was angry and could not tolerate it at all. What did I say back then? I was testing the Great Tang's bottom line. Now you see, the Great Tang's bottom line is that if you provoke me, I will immediately send my troops. Takeshita Junichiro did not dare to give up on this last chance. He begged bitterly, "Brothers, who are you calling your brothers with? We are not familiar with you. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, we will arrest you for attempting to assassinate the emperor." The other party did not give him a chance. This sinner knows that I cannot meet the emperor directly. Can I meet the other people who are in charge of external affairs? Take this and help me. Save my life. Takeshita Junichiro continued to plead. He took out a large stack of notes and forced them into the other party's hands. The person who had stopped him quickly retracted his hands. "Take it away. I don't dare to take your money. I can take it with my life, but I can't spend it with my life. Wait, I will report to you and see if anyone is willing to come and meet you." As he spoke, the person gave a look to the people around him, telling them to look after the Japanese. He then turned and left to report. They were the ones who stayed behind to clean up. They were still far away from the group in front. It would take them at least 2 days to catch up. When the telegram reached Li Longji was eating the cold shredded chicken that Zhang Xiaobao had made. They had been eating vegetarian dishes for the past few days. The weather was hot, and the mountain roads were humid. Therefore, none of them could eat meat. Even Xiao Bei and the other children did not want to eat eggs in the morning. They only drank some soy milk and ate 2 steamed buns with salted vegetables. Their appetite was obviously decreasing. If they were hungry, they would stuff their stomachs with fruits. They could not eat anything else. Only Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao did not mind. The two of them still ate what they wanted. They seemed to be very adaptable to the environment. At noon yesterday, Zhang Xiaobao noticed that his younger siblings, as well as Li Longji and the others, looked very tired. He knew that their bodies were lacking in nutrition. At noon today, he made a few meat dishes. There was cold shredded chicken, sauced beef, and the most important mutton soup. He mixed it with sweet garlic and forced his younger siblings to eat it, especially the mutton soup, which was boiled with mutton bones. There was no mutton oil in it, and the dry ingredients were all cut from mutton offal. He added a lot of vinegar and pepper. He told his younger siblings that after drinking it, they would sweat and feel cool. Xiao Bei and the others gritted their teeth and tried it. In the end, after drinking a mouthful of the hot soup, they found that it was indeed more comfortable than eating stir-fried meat directly. It was not greasy. They added some chili powder into it. It was sour, numb, and spicy. It was similar to spicy. It was really good. Li Longji also drank it well. The staple food was pasta. Zhang Xiaobao made small pancakes with corn flour. They were very small pancakes, about 2 centimeters in diameter. It was convenient to eat one pancake at a time. Moreover, it gave people the feeling that they could eat a lot. If it was changed to steamed buns or pancakes, people would not be able to eat them when they saw them. He also asked Zhang Xiaobao to refill the soup. When Li Longji poured vinegar into the soup, he praised Zhang Xiaobao. "It's all thanks to Xiaobao following me. Otherwise, I would probably starve to death on the way here." That's why a regional commander who can't make food that people like under any conditions is definitely not a good top scorer. Isn't that right, Xiaobei? After Li Longji finished praising, he asked Xiaobei, who was also lowering her head and drinking the soup. Xiaobei did not like to eat the mutton in her bowl. She felt that when she drank the soup, it was too spicy and sour. She ate a small pancake. The corn flour pancake tasted pretty good. There was honey in it, and there was a hint of honey's unique sweetness in the rich corn flavor. She also liked the rough and delicate texture of the meat. This was made by Zhang Xiaobao using a fine grinder. Otherwise, normal corn flour would not be so fine. It took a lot of effort to grind it with a small grinder used to grind sesame oil. He was not at ease with others doing it. Yes, it's delicious. Let's eat this tomorrow for lunch. Okay, brother? Xiaobei's face was scrunched up by the vinegar, but she still drank the soup. She raised her head and asked her brother, who was gnawing on the meat on the bone, "You'll be sick of it tomorrow. I'll make spicy soup for you tomorrow. You don't have to worry about eating too much. Eat a few skewers if you can. I'll make some chicken soup for you tomorrow morning. It'll taste better when it's cooked." Zhang Xiaobao said to his sister. He did not mind. Even if the meat on the bone looked oily, he could still swallow it. He decided to use the method of fighting poison with poison to improve everyone's diet. The weather was hot, so they would eat spicy food. After sweating, they would feel better. As for the other people in the team, they were still eating what they usually ate. They could not enjoy this treatment at all. They did not bring much food. If it was really uncomfortable, they would ask the chef following the team to make rice or sorghum rice that had been soaked in water and noodles that had also been soaked in water twice to make zhajiang noodles. It was impossible to take care of them too much. While everyone was eating and chatting, a telegram was sent. The person who sent the telegram said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Young master, a Japanese man is chasing after us. He says he's called Takeshita Junichiro. My purpose for coming is, there's no hurry. I'm eating. You didn't find a good time to come. I have a habit of not talking about business when I'm eating. You haven't eaten breakfast, right? Have you?" Xiaobei used his chopsticks to pick up a steamed bun. It was a very small steamed bun. It was just enough to eat one steamed bun in one bite. Zhang Xiaobao knew that it would be unappetizing if it was big, so he had to spend some effort to make small steamed buns. Although the steamed bun was smaller than a normal steamed bun, there were many folds on the steamed bun. Furthermore, the steamed bun could be made with thin skin and large stuffing. The steamed bun was also well stuffed. It had a glossy luster and was crystal clear. When placed on a plate, it looked like a piece of art. Ordinary people couldn't bear to eat such a steamed bun. Takeshita Junichiro saw the steamed bun and smelled the fragrance. He swallowed his saliva twice and said, "Yes, I've eaten. I ate it on the way here." He was actually lying. He had only eaten something at noon yesterday. Until now, he hadn't eaten anything. He hadn't even rested during the journey. He wanted to have a good sleep, but he knew that the Tang Empire's army wouldn't wait for him to wake up before advancing. Xiaobei seemed to be very regretful. He ate another steamed bun and said, "You ate? I thought you didn't eat, so I'll sell you breakfast. Unfortunately, I won't be able to earn money. I ate, but I'm not full. Now that I'm hungry, why don't you sell me a portion?" Takeshita Junichiro was very smart. When he heard Xiaobei's words, he knew that the opportunity to give him money had come. Not to mention that he was really hungry. Even if he was full, he would continue stuffing food into his stomach. Okay, I'll give you 5 steamed buns. My brother made them himself. How much do you think they're worth? Look at the steamed bun carefully. You haven't seen this kind of craftsmanship before, right? Think of a good price. Xiao Bei looked very reluctant. He took another pair of chopsticks and a small plate. He carefully picked out 5 steamed buns from the plate in front of him and pushed them to the other side of the table. He gestured for someone to bring them to Takeshita Junichiro. Takeshita Junichiro received the steamed bun and carefully looked at it. He had to admit that the steamed bun was really well made. If he could eat it normally, he would be in a good mood. However, at this moment, he wasn't in the mood to taste it. After thinking for a while, Takeshita Junichiro asked Xiao Bei, "It's priceless. I don't think you should buy it with money. How much do you think it's worth?" He spoke very respectfully, as if he didn't treat the girl in front of him as a child. There were too many stories about Xiao Bei, so many that people were calling him a god. "You want me to state the price? Okay, 1 copper coin for one. Do you want to buy it?" Xiao Bei gave a price. 1 copper coin. Not even 1 copper coin. Takeshita Junichiro shook his head. If it was really 1 copper coin for one, how was he going to bribe people? Needless to say, the steamed buns were made by Zhang Xiaobao for his sister. The price of an ordinary steamed bun was enough to make people willing to spend countless amounts of money to buy it. Xiao Bei stopped eating and asked, "If 1 copper coin is not enough, how many copper coins will do? 10,000 copper coins?" "Copper coins are not enough. It should be copper coins." Takeshita Junichiro gritted his teeth and said, he had already thought of how much he would pay. 10,000 copper coins for one? Okay, take out 50,000 copper coins. Xiao Bei generously agreed. "I don't have much cash. I have the proof of the great Tang Bank. Here is one. There is one for 57,000 copper coins. What do you think?" Takeshita Junichiro took out a handful of proof of existence and found one with about the same amount. He held it in his hand and asked, "I won't take advantage of you. Give it to me. If it's a large amount, others won't be able to take it out. If you give it to me, I can take it out. There's still 7,000 copper coins left. I'll give you a plate of soy sauce. How about dipping it in soy sauce to eat the steamed buns? Which one do you prefer?" Xiao Bei waved her hand, and someone immediately brought over soy sauce and vinegar. There was none on her table, but the brine in the steamed egg soup was just right. There was also some brine in the steamed buns. Vinegar, soy sauce is better. When Takeshita Junichiro heard that 7,000 copper coins for a plate of soy sauce, he felt that this was the most expensive soy sauce in the world. Furthermore, it was not like the steamed buns. The steamed buns were made by Zhang Xiaobao, but the soy sauce was definitely not made by Zhang Xiaobao himself. He usually liked to eat with vinegar, but now he had no choice but to choose soy sauce. His body was almost dehydrated, and if he did not replenish his salt, he would probably faint before he could say anything. Another plate was brought over. Takeshita Junichiro took it and poured the soy sauce into the plate with the steamed buns. He put the 2 plates together so that he could use his hands to eat the steamed buns. Xiao Bei also took the bank's proof of deposit and looked at it. It was not fake. She put it aside and said to Takeshita Junichiro, "Eat, I'll eat too. After eating, we can discuss other things." After saying that, she lowered her head and ate, ignoring Takeshita Junichiro. Takeshita Junichiro held the steamed buns in his hands and ate them, but he did not eat too quickly. The steamed buns could be eaten 1 bite at a time, so he used his teeth to shave them bit by bit. He needed to watch Xiao Bei's eating speed so that he could finish them together. The moment the steamed buns entered his mouth, Takeshita Junichiro took a deep breath and admitted in his heart that the food Zhang Xiaobao made for his sister was indeed good. The steamed buns were filled with pork and shrimp. Half a shrimp, and there was also a bit of pork in the steamed buns. It was fresh and fragrant. He had never eaten such delicious steamed buns before. Indeed, rich people lived meticulously. It could no longer be described as extravagant. Xiao Bei ate at a moderate pace. After she finished eating, she rinsed her mouth and wiped her mouth. Only then did she look at Takeshita Junichiro, who had just finished 5 steamed buns and felt even hungrier, and said, "Why are you looking for me?" Takeshita Junichiro returned the plate to the person beside him and put on an "I've been wronged" expression. He replied, "I'm here to clarify a misunderstanding." "What misunderstanding?" Xiao Bei asked anxiously. "It's about disobedient people from our country coming to the Tang Empire and causing losses to the Tang Empire. Our country has never been clear about what they did, and they didn't tell us at all. I've always been representing Japan in the Tang Empire. If our country knew about it, I would know as well. Since they have caused losses to your country, I want to emphasize that it wasn't our emperor who allowed it. It was their own actions. Please don't retaliate against our country." Takeshita Junichiro pushed the blame away as he stared at Xiao Bei. He wanted to see Xiao Bei's reaction. He would never admit that he knew about it and didn't stop it. Recently, Xiao Bei had been with her brother and learned a lot of knowledge. She specialized in diplomacy and appeared to be much calmer. If it was in the past, she would definitely shout angrily and say that it wasn't a misunderstanding. But today, she nodded as though she agreed with Takeshita Junichiro's words. Then, her expression turned to one of pain as she said, "Someone did come to cause trouble. Not only did your country come, they even joined forces with other countries to find an opportunity to scheme against us in the Tang Empire. They have caused huge losses to us. Their actions are very vile, and their motives are not simple. This is an organized and premeditated war between countries. Not only did they cause direct losses to the Tang Empire in terms of wealth, but they also caused losses to the lives of the people of the Tang Empire. In terms of wealth, we lost 100 million strings of strings in one go. As for the losses in other aspects, they are immeasurable. This makes us very sad and angry. Regarding this, I express strong condemnation and protest. At the same time, I emphasize that this is an act of war. We have the ability and determination to make up for this loss through other actions and give the people of the Tang Empire an explanation. You should return to your country as soon as possible and tell your emperor about our intentions. Let him give us a satisfactory explanation and promise that the same thing won't happen again." Takeshita Junichiro already had a high opinion of Xiao Bei, but at this moment he still revealed a shocked expression. Was this still a child? Even an official from the imperial court wouldn't be able to say such words. Could it be that she had memorized them in advance? As he pondered, Takeshita Junichiro revealed the same sad expression. He lowered his head and said, "Yes, we are willing to think of a way to compensate for the losses caused to Shang Nation. But 100 million strings of cash. The direct financial loss is 100 million strings of string of cash. There are also indirect losses. When a place is in chaos, it's not just possible to calm it down with money. It requires time and more energy. It will delay many other important matters and disrupt the original plan. At the same time, because of your actions, the people of my dynasty have lost the support of the people, and it will take a long time to make up for it. The people are like water, and the ruler is like a boat. The water can carry the boat, but it can also capsize it. Perhaps there will be unrest in the future. Thus, we won't just accept 100 million strings of cash as compensation for the loss. What we need is even more spiritual compensation. This is not something that can be done with a little bit of money. For example, when I first went over, he blew me up. Although he didn't blow me to death, he left behind a wound in my young heart that is difficult to heal. The people of Xuanyang have already banded together to resist the imperial court. Just comforting them is already exhausting. There's also Dakang, Hangzhou, and the hearts of the other people in Jiangnan that have fallen into chaos. You must give even more compensation. Otherwise, it will have a very bad effect on the relationship between our two countries. We love peace, but we absolutely do not fear war. For the sake of our dignity, we are willing to shed our last drop of blood. Xiao Bei did not wait for Takeshita Junichiro to finish speaking. She interrupted him from talking about how Japan had no money and repeated the losses her country had suffered. At the same time, she expressed a vague attitude. Takeshita Junichiro was dumbfounded. He had already confirmed that the child in front of him had not been taught to recite the words she had first said. They had all been thought out by her. Otherwise, the person who had taught her to recite them would have to be able to calculate every word he said. With a shocked heart, Takeshita Junichiro felt that this was also an opportunity. If he could answer correctly and satisfy Xiao Bei, he might be able to stabilize Japan and avoid war. But he didn't dare to agree with such a large loss. The 100 million strings of strings from before simply wasn't right. 100 million strings of strings, not 100 million copper coins. It was just a small area from Jiangnan. If 100 million strings of strings were lost over such a minor matter, how much of the annual income of the Great Tang? Wouldn't that be trillions of strings of coins? As for the rumor that the common people of Xuanyang were huddling together, he had indeed seen it. But the reason the common people of Xuanyang were huddling together was not to rebel, but to make the entire place even better. There was no need to say much about the other aspects. It gave people the feeling that they had not encountered anything. They were stable and united. If one had to say what had changed, it was definitely that they had become more united than before. Though this was what he thought, Takeshita Junichiro knew that he could not say it out loud. Thus he said, "Yes, we have caused a large loss to your country. We are willing to compensate, but our country doesn't have much money. Moreover, you should also know that much of the power in our country is not completely controlled by the emperor. There are also internal struggles, so we can't gather enough money in a short time. But we are willing to use everything we have to compensate. What do you think we should do? The important thing is that your country does not continue to wage war against us." Willing to compensate? All right, I'll have to go back and ask Uncle Emperor. I also don't know what to use in exchange, but you don't need to worry. There are only 2 points. One is to cede land, and the other is to compensate. We won't ask for all of your Japanese land. As for war, I just said that we love peace and will not lightly start wars. As Xiao Bei spoke, he felt thirsty. He glanced at the person beside him. That person did not need Xiao Bei's instructions and immediately knew what Xiao Bei needed. He quickly brought over the iced sour plum soup. Takeshita Junichiro swallowed his saliva again. Before he came, he had not drunk water for a long time. When he ate the steamed buns earlier, he realized that he had been tricked. The steamed buns were salty, but he had poured soy sauce on them. He had no choice but to eat it. After eating it, he realized that he was even more thirsty. "Do you want a bowl? Brother personally made it for me. I'll give you a discount. 30,000 strings of cash. Do you have it? Let's discuss matters while drinking." Xiao Bei could tell that the other party was thirsty as well, so he asked with concern. Takeshita Junichiro's goal was to bribe. He nodded and took out the money. He found 2 vouchers for 20,000 strings of cash and said, 40,000 strings of cash. I don't have 0. I won't take advantage of you. I'll add 2 more pieces of ice in it. It's 10,000 strings of cash. Drink it. If you didn't meet me, you would only be able to eat ice in your dreams. Although the price is a little high, it's not too much. When you're in the desert and about to die of thirst, I'll give you a bowl of life-saving water. How much do you think it's worth? If you lose your life, your money will be taken away by others, right? Xiao Bei took a sip of the sour plum soup and explained that it was not expensive. It's not expensive, but life is the most important thing. We've talked about compensation earlier, and we're willing to do so. We hope that your country will withdraw your troops and not attack us. Takeshita Junichiro spoke of his purpose in coming here. We didn't attack you, and we didn't send any troops. What makes you say that? Xiao Bei blinked and asked in confusion. How can that be? Lu Zhou has mobilized 2 fleets. Jili Province's fleet is moving toward the outer seas. You province's soldiers are heading toward Bohai's commander-in-chief's mansion. Shandong province's soldiers are advancing toward Huainan province as well. In addition, your logistics company is transporting goods to Hangzhou. There are even hot air balloons in the sky. With such a lineup, if you're not attacking us, are you really protecting your mother and going to Bohai's commander-in-chief's mansion to pick pine nuts? Takeshita Junichiro no longer cared about anything else. He immediately told Xiaobei everything he knew. Xiaobei blinked. Is there such a thing? Oh, you're right. It's as you've guessed, we have no intention of attacking you. Otherwise, we would have withdrawn our men from your territory before making a move. What if you killed them when we made a move? It's a misunderstanding. You must believe us, just like how I believed you when you said it was a misunderstanding. We have to get along peacefully. Don't worry. Come with us. I'll bring you to Luzhou to see the sea. I was born in Luzhou. Back then, I didn't know how to appreciate the scenery, so I don't have any recollection of it. In my dreams, I often heard the sound of waves and the chirping of birds in the sky. Let's go. I think the money you brought along should be enough for the trip. Takeshita Junichiro broke out in cold sweat. It did cool his body. He looked at Xiaobei in shock and said, "We know we're in the wrong. Stop fighting. It's not a misunderstanding. It's definitely not a misunderstanding. Do you believe that you've mobilized so many men just because it's a misunderstanding? Why not? Even I believe you. You should believe me as well. Put yourself in my shoes. Are you saying that it's a misunderstanding as well? This isn't Yamamoto's decision. Did you arrange for them to start a war?" Xiaobei retorted. For a moment, Takeshita Junichiro was speechless. Xiaobei had tricked him again. Why did he not kill this shrewd child in front of him with an explosion? You're speechless. As expected, you did it on purpose. This won't do. I'll talk to my big brother and ask him and my big sister to mobilize the troops. You're too evil. You knew about it, yet you played dumb with me. You wanted to trick a child like me. Humph. Xiaobei stood up and was about to leave as he spoke. Takeshita Junichiro hastily stopped him. No, we're not lying to you. We really didn't know. I only found out after that. Even if we were 100 times braver, we wouldn't dare to cause trouble for you. It's a war, Xiaobei emphasized. Yes, it's a war. We wouldn't dare. Let's talk about it. Everything can be discussed. Takeshita Junichiro agreed with Xiaobei. Inwardly, he hated those who supported Yamamoto. Didn't you say that Tang wants to fight Duishi and can't spare the troops to fight Japan? What should we do now? Look at their reaction. They've just captured Yamamoto, and they're already mobilized. You really didn't do it on purpose? Then, fine, I'll give you a chance. Go back immediately and tell your emperor that we won't start a war lightly. However, we'll be cautious when dispatching troops. If you can't give us a satisfactory answer, we can't guarantee that there won't be any disobedient soldiers who will disobey orders and go to war personally. Xiaobei expressed his understanding and helplessness. Of course. However, there's not enough time. It takes me a long time to travel from here to Hangzhou. If I have to return from Hangzhou, it'll take me a lot of time. If your troops, disobedient soldiers and soldiers, selfishly charge over what should we do, can you strengthen the discipline of your troops and persuade those soldiers who have other thoughts to stop them? Give me some time to return. Takeshita Junichiro pleaded. He was really afraid that Tang would launch an attack regardless of the cost. Even if the cannons couldn't reach land, they would lose the coast. Tang's troops would be sent over continuously. How could a body of flesh and blood face guns and cannons? Xiaobei also appeared anxious and helped him think. After thinking for a while, he said, I'll give you an idea. Do you have money? We'll rent you a hot air balloon so that you can fly to Hangzhou quickly. Once you're there, we'll rent you a fast boat so that you can rush back to your country and discuss with your people. While you're on the way, we'll sort out the losses and tell you the amount of compensation. You can pass it to your people and see if they can accept it. Don't worry. Before you return and have a result, We'll try our best to suppress the soldiers and not let them panic. However, you have to be quick. 3 months at most. We hope that you can return to Tang with sincerity and discuss with us. What do you think? 1,000,000 strings of coins. We'll be responsible for your safety on the way. When Takeshita Junichiro heard the amount, he knew that the other party was deliberately asking for more money. However, there was nothing he could do. Originally, he wanted to bribe them and express his attitude so that Tang would immediately withdraw their troops. Now, it seemed that he was too naive. The money he brought wasn't enough to change the other party's mind. They were asking for more. However, other than this, there was no other way. Perhaps no one in the country had discovered Tang's actions. It was best for him to return quickly and let the people who supported Yamamoto understand the seriousness of the matter. Takeshita Junichiro took out all the money and counted it. Together with the banknotes on his body, he handed it to the person beside him and said, "I don't have 1,000,000 strings of coins on me. Now, I have 350,000 strings of coins on me. Can I put the rest on credit first and put it in the compensation later?" "Oh, that's fine, but not put it in the compensation. It has nothing to do with the compensation. I'm the one who arranged it for you. The money belongs to me. Right now you. If you don't return to give me the money, I'll mobilize my protection team and personally go to Japan to ask for it. If you can't take it out, I'll ask the emperor. Even if you die, he'll have to give me the money." Xiaobei waved his hand regretfully. Someone brought over a pen, ink, paper, and an inkstone and asked Takeshita Junichiro to write the IOU. Takeshita Junichiro sighed and lowered his head to write. He felt very sad in his heart. A weak country was like this. They knew that they were being bullied, but they didn't dare to resist. Otherwise, the country would be destroyed. However, if they did that, it would be difficult for the Tang Empire to attack Toshi after attacking Japan. It would give Toshi more time to prepare. However, who knew what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were thinking? After writing the IOU, Takeshita Junichiro suddenly felt that it couldn't be just his country being bullied. Hence, he said to Xiaobei, "I heard about this before I came. There are other countries involved. We can't let them go. Ours is a misunderstanding, but theirs is definitely not. I don't care. I have to ask my brother and sister. I'll pass on your message. See if there's anything else to pack. If there's nothing else, I'll get someone to raise the hot air balloon." Xiaobei took the proof of deposit, the money, and the IOU written by Takeshita Junichiro, and said to him. Takeshita Junichiro was burning with anxiety. He didn't need to pack anything. He immediately left with the others and took the hot air balloon. He wanted to rush back as fast as possible. As for what compensation he could get from the Tang Empire on the way back, he didn't need to think about it. Anyway, he had done what he had to do. Life and death depended on the thoughts of the people in his country. Seeing Takeshita Junichiro leave, Xiaobei excitedly counted the money. After counting twice, she grabbed the money and ran to find the others. The money was indeed hers. This was what she had agreed before coming. It was up to her to get as much money as she could from Takeshita Junichiro. Let's go, let's go. We're rich. We're rich. Brother, quickly think about how much compensation we want from the Japanese. They probably took out a lot of money. We can only ask for things. Come, everyone has a share. Let's split it. Xiaobei waved the money in her hand and ran to the team. She shouted happily to her brother and the others. She showed the proof worth more than 400,000 strings of coins to the other 8 people. Xiaobei, are you still short of money? Li Longji asked. Yes, very much. Although I have 4,000 precious chain candy houses in the Tang Empire, I still have to take out a lot of the money I earn to help improve the lives of the children. I don't dare to use the remaining money casually. If something urgent happens, I can't be without a single cent, right? Today, I got extra money from outside. Of course, I'm happy. Our precious candy house is going to develop new candy. Not only will it suit the tastes of the children in the Tang Empire, but when we occupy other places in the future, we will also give it to the children there. Xiao Bei explained. She lowered her head and looked at the money in her hand. She revealed a satisfied smile. Li Longji looked at the puzzle-like Xiao Bei and shook his head helplessly. He said, "You also have to take care of the children in other places." "Take care of them? Why should I take care of them? I want to earn their money. You guys go earn the adults' money, and I'll earn the children's money. At the same time, I'll help sell some medicine to treat children's diseases so that they can grow up healthily." Xiao Bei didn't hide her obsession with earning money. "You still plan to let them grow up healthily? When they grow up, are you going to let them form an army and rebel?" Li Longji asked. "Of course not. When they grow up, we'll have more manpower to build the railway and mine." Big Brother and Big Sister said that no matter how advanced the technology is, there will always be danger when mining underground. It can take lives. Besides, our current technology is still far from enough. There are always people who die in the mines in the Tang Empire. Every time I hear about a mine that has a problem, I feel my heart ache. If other people don't mine and don't raise their children, when our own children grow up and continue to mine, people will still die. How sad will their families be? Xiao Bei bemoaned the state of the universe and the fate of mankind. Li Longji nodded speechlessly. He realized that Xiao Bei only treated the people of the Tang Empire as humans. The people of other places were like livestock. When they grew up, they would work, and when they couldn't work, they would be killed for meat. He didn't know how Xiao Bao and Cuckoo taught Xiao Bei. Turning his head, Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "What kind of compensation do you plan to ask for?" "We won't discuss it with the ministers. What you say is correct." Zhang Xiaobao already had a plan. He replied, "It's simple. If they can't take out the money, there's no need for them to take out the money. I also don't want the goods. I'll leave the goods for them to exchange for money in the future. It's not easy for them. I only have 2 requests. First, seed land. Cut out the good parts of Japan and form a concession for our people. They are not allowed to go there without permission. Also, it must be written that Japanese people and dogs are not allowed to enter. Second, accompany people. Since we don't want anything, we'll use people as collateral. Ship them to Huainan province and help build the railway there. However, after the railway is built, there will be no points. These people have to be treated well and don't die so easily. What's the use of keeping them?" Li Longji didn't understand Zhang Xiaobao's purpose. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, "To prepare for the future. My Tang Empire is a peace-loving country." You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.